lot of people go through life doing things badly. Racing's important to men who do it well. When you're racing, it's life. Anything that happens before or after, it's just waiting.
Matt Williams got a brilliant start from the third row of the grid.
He's gone, he's hit him, he's straight off at the chase.
A half-second lead. Oh, with the sizzling car in the background.
He has it. Oh, he's round. He's round on the last lap.
There's a massive, massive accident.
Goes to the inside. What a move. What a move.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the final leg of our European section of the WEC Automobilista Australia Series. It's round 5. We're at the home of British motorsport, as they like to say, at Silverstone. Built on the old RAF Silverstone RAF base, this high-speed circuit has been around since the early 50s, and it is one of the favourites for all the drivers here in the field. Nether here from the ARW TV commentary team, and as always, Bagsy's along for the ride as well. How are you, Bagsy?
Good, thanks, Nether. How are you?
Doing very, very well, thank you. And sad to be leaving the shores of Europe, but we are getting rid of Europe by invading the mother country in great fashion, and it is Silverstone, and we've got some experience with this circuit. It's a fantastic race circuit, and has evolved quite significantly over the years. Let's have a bit of a chat. What are your thoughts on this circuit?
Well, it's one of the first circuits that was ever made. It was originally, as you said just before in the intro, a RAF base, and the first unofficial race around here was a few guys in their cars just while it was deserted. They just jumped the fence and brought their cars in, and as they were going around, one of them happened to knock out a sheep, and it was given the nickname of the Mutton Grand Prix. But yeah, it's a brilliant circuit. It's the current circuit length is 5.89 kilometres. The record is held by Lewis Hamilton in an F1 car, and he'll be going around it a lot faster than they are today, to the tune of about 10 or 15 seconds for the LMP2 cars. But an excellent track, one that's seen a lot of changes.
Yeah, it certainly has. And as always, ARWTV bringing you all sorts of pointless comments, including the fact that this used to be called the Mutton Grand Prix. Well done. Well, let's have a quick look at the drivers' points, because there's a man on the move at the minute. His name's Sam Smith in LMP2, and he is on 30 points, 3 race wins from 3 appearances, and he is starting to run away with this championship. Osrob, Cam Costa and Greg Nangle, 2nd through 4th, all still within striking distance, but they need things to go their way. Jamie Snow with 10, Matt Williams obviously now in GT class, Stairs with 6, Andy Simpson with 6, Jamie Snow's also moved out of the LMP2s, Johnny Kirkham there with 5, David Keane, Luke Emerton on debut last week, and Roadhog there with 0. That brings us through the LMP2 field. Foley and Boak for PBF Race Engineering, they head the fact that's actually a Corvette that's meant to be there for Boak, not a Bentley. Lewis Wedding still within striking distance as well. Couple of the BMWs in the midfield. Lewis Cugley doing well there in 7th place overall in the Cadillac. Brendan Ross, Matt Williams there in 10th. He moves into a Ford GT for this round. Scott Murrow and Will Devonish rounding out top 12. And we then start getting down into the privateers. You can see Jamie Snow was there in 15th. He filled in for Phil Boak at the last round in Spa. That's why he has some points to his name in a PBF Race Engineering car. Couple of Ferraris toward the back of the pack, or 3 out of 4 Ferraris there, 17 through 20. And then we start getting through the guys that just got a couple of points to their name, and a couple that are yet to score. Jaden Draper and Rob Dunt there in Pro A, surprisingly, yet to score. And also Carl Parkinson and Anthony Big Dog Hall having a good round, or good racing in the Super Series, but also yet to get off the mark in GT. And then when we take a look at the team's points, in LMP class, it is Tin Shed Racing marching away at the moment. They've got an 8-point margin on the FCR combinations there. Costa Engineering and Osrob rounding out the top 4. Johnny Kirkham heading the charge for 666, and obviously Jamie Snow's LMP2 car no longer accruing any points. In GT, look at the gap between Loose Sim Sport and PBF Race Engineering at the top. It's getting near to 50 points, and it's starting to get out of the reach of the Loose Sim Sport guys. But nonetheless, they're still charging on, and we've still got this is the first race since crossing over the halfway point. So there's still plenty of room and plenty of time for all these teams and these drivers to accrue more positions and more points with still 4 rounds on offer. And they've, out of all the teams, down to 15th there in GT, Brian Walsh the last of the things. Even though it says Ferrari 488, there's some reason there is a BMW there. So he definitely is in a Ferrari, Brian Walsh. Well, let's go over and have a look at what is about to go down, because engines are firing and it sounds to me like we're about to go live for qualifying.
Yep, qualifying is underway. First man out on track is Stairs for the LMP2, closely followed by Foley and Murrell in the GT3 cars. So they're getting out straight away, and there is a gaggle of about 7 cars who have all left the pits at the start. So they'll be trying to space themselves out, get ready for their fast run. Only 15 minutes, so you've got to make the most of it, especially given for the GT3 cars, it's a 2-minute lap. So you've got 2 minutes out, then 2 minutes to your lap, and that's 4 minutes gone already. So realistically, you're only going to get 3, maybe 4 runs in if you do everything perfectly.
Yeah, if you do exactly right. If you factor in an out lap and then a flying lap, you'll probably be lucky to get 4 if it all goes according to plan. More likely it's going to be 3. And for the LMP cars, they'll probably get close to getting 4 in, but I think some of them may probably end up banking on doing a multi-run lap rather than just a single out and a single flyer. Just depends on how they feel, and if they strike any traffic, they'd probably prefer to get an extra lap in instead of coming in, bolting on some new tyres and then going for a flying lap and then striking traffic on their out lap.
Yeah, just looking at the timing screens at the moment, and there's the potential for Cameron Costa to have some issues on his lap if he doesn't get past some of the lap traffic. And also Sam Smith could potentially end up, he's about half a sector behind Tara and Snow, so he might end up having some issues and catching them right at the end of his lap, and potentially in a spot that he doesn't want to through Maggots and Beckett's.
Well, headlights on for Stairs. The Pioneer through turn 1 at Abbey Curve, and now through Farm at turn 2 and up to turn 3. The new section of the circuit, which was added in the early, or wasn't in the early 2000s, was added around 2010. It was added. I'm going to say it's partway through the noughties. It's only about 8 years ago, this infield section. Now down the Wellington Straight towards Brooklands at turn 6. A little bit of traffic in the distance. I should see the lights and get out of the way. Car looks nicely planted so far. Around the left-hander. And now around the right-hander at turn 7, up toward turn 8, and now about to come past the old pit complex. Still part of the pit complex for the National Circuit, where the National Circuit will break off at Maggots and come back down the Wellington Straight. Not today. Cops flat out in a Formula 1 car. Having to lift a little bit there. Not using all the road, but gets it back over to the right-hand side nicely for this wonderful section. Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel. The famous Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel combination of corners. There's just a little bit. Looks quite planted. Looked like he was going to go a little bit wide there for a minute, and it actually looks like it's Greg Nangle ahead, so he's also an LMP class, so won't pose any sort of barrier or blockage for Stairs on his first flying lap. Fastest man through practice was Cam Costa with a 1:46.4. Let's see what sort of times we're going to get down to in qualifying. So the benchmark will be set here around the final turn, club corner, to the line for Stairs, and it is a 1:47.3. So 9 tenths off what was possible with Cam Costa in toward the end of practice, but still the better part of 11 minutes to go. Speaking of Cam Costa, he goes second, just under 2 tenths behind Stairs with a 47.5. There he is in the pink car. And Greg Nangle starting flying lap as well. So times starting to come in. And we're already nearly 5 minutes through this practice session. Hard to believe. So this qualifying session.
Sam Smith about to finish a lap, but he's a long way down at the moment. He's probably going to be 3 seconds off the pace here, 2 seconds off the pace. He had a very poor first and second sector, second off of what Stairs had. So he'll definitely be looking to improve. Maybe it's just deciding laps. It looks like he's still going out at full throttle, but he's going to have some traffic issues soon.
And
He's
Stairs
got some 3 cars ahead on fast laps.
and Stairs and Cam Costa have also decided to press on with second qualifying laps. Costa improving through Sector 1 on his own PB, but still 2/10 off the top time. Let's see what Stairs can do coming out of Sector 2 now. So out onto the hangar straight. We'll get a Sector 2 read now. So 6/10 down on his PB and the top time. So not going to be a lap that he'll be improving on. Let's have a look at Osrob's now moved to the second position. So has displaced Cam Costa by 7/100ths of a second.
Cam Costa is going fast though. He's a 10th up on Stairs through the second sector.
So Cam Costa now through Stowe Corner. Oh, a little bit of a wiggle on the exit as well. Managed to gather it up. Down to 4th now. Nangle goes to the top. He bangs in. And that's a 46 from Nangle. So Nangle a half a second ahead of Costa. But also...
He's only going to be good enough for second for Costa now.
It's going to be second for Costa if this rate keeps up. No!
Oh, he's...
He
amazing
found it.
Final sector from Cam Costa.
What a ripper time that is from Cam Costa, a 46.9.
6/10 faster than Nangle in the final sector there.
So
Nangle had 6/10 on him in the first sector. They were even in the second sector, but 6/10 from Costa in that final sector. He absolutely... And that's not exactly a long sector. That is just the back straight and then down through the final little chicane complex. So that's quite a sector for Costa.
Yep.
And he's going even faster. He's 7/10 up through the first sector.
Well, when you're on it, you're on it. So depending on what sort of strategy you employ, if you come in and bolt on some tyres, or if you decide to stay out and keep the heat in those tyres, it certainly looks like staying out is the thing to do. Osrob and Matt Harvey just had a bit of a dilemma arguing over track position coming through Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel, so Rob's lap will be ruined on this particular occasion. But let's return to Cam Costa because he's just come out of Cops Corner, heading down to Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel. This potentially could be an awesome lap if he hooks it up. A little bit of traffic ahead in the form of Scott Murrell in the Porsche, but he should catch him down the hangar straight and get the job done. So traffic falling fortunate for Cam Costa, and Murrell does the right thing. So he's still 6/10 of a second up. This is going to be a very low 46 if he can get it done. It'll be better than his best lap if he can keep on this pace.
He's got Jane Draper going wide in front of him, but it hasn't affected him too much, luckily.
Down to the final couple of corners. Vale through turn 17.
He's looking so planted through the final corner here. It's incredible. I think this is going to be a lap time that's almost impossible to beat.
Beautiful line. He does a 46.473. His best lap on the practice session was a 46.482, so he lowers his own benchmark. He did lose 0.2 of a second, though, in that final sector, so not as good a final sector as he strung together to take the provisional pole, but lowers the benchmark and puts the deficit to Nangle at exactly 1/2 of 1 second. So it's now catch me if you can, and in a big way.
Yeah, Nangle and Stairs are both in a similar part of the track, so I think Stairs is just letting through, but neither are on a fast lap. They're both on out laps. They've got a fair bit of track in front of them too, as I believe Sam Smith has just come across the line. He's 2.5 he's beaten his personal best, but he's 2.5 seconds off the pace. So the man who's looking to go back to back to back to back with 4 in a row today, not looking the best in the best shape at this point, doesn't seem to be agreeing with this track.
No, not at this stage. We've been keeping an eye on him because he's won the last 3 races. He won at Sebring, he won at Monza, he won at Spa, and he was seeking to make it 4 from 4. He's got a 100% winning record at the moment. 3 wins from 3 starts and running away from the championship. Meanwhile, we've got Lewis Wedding here coming through the final complex of corners. The reigning GT champion to the line for his first flying lap. Hard to believe, a timed flying lap, and it's 7th place, so top of GT for Lewis Wedding as it stands. Displaces Foley as we pick up the number 20 Tin Shed Racing, which we were just talking about a few seconds ago. Sam Smith through Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel. Looks relatively planted. A little bit of body roll there. Up on his PB by a half a second, but look at the deficit to P1. 1.4 seconds at the Sector 2 split. So that just goes to show you how hooked up Costa currently has that Lola going at the moment.
Yeah, he's had it absolutely nailed. It's going around on rails. It really is. You've got Nangle. He is 3/10 down as he comes through the second sector.
Sam very wide at the final turn as well, getting off of 17 onto 18. So he improves his PB by 7/10, still 7.5 tenths, but he's still 1.7 down, but does not move up the order at all. Now we should also point out, running in the 5th position, and yes, that is an FCR car, and yes, it says Keno, but the man aboard is not an FCR stalwart. It is Heath Dixon. He's one of the guys that runs in the Formula 1 series, making his debut in WEC, taking a spare seat that is available. And very wide there at Farm Curve, gathers it back up. Not sure if he'll be penalised for track cut there, but gone too deep at turn 3 as well. That'll ruin that lap.
Just ahead of him. I think his lap might have gone too early. He's just ahead. We've got Nangle and we've got 4 LMP2 cars on a row, but they're coming up on a mass of GT3 cars who are all on fast laps as well. So they're not going to be keen to get off the racing line.
Nangle sort of matches himself, not exactly, but very, very closely through Sector 1. And a bit of an awkward moment there. I think that might be with the Joyner car in the Ferrari, just out of Brooklands.
Yeah, it is.
Yep, it is Luke Joyner. So we'll see how compromised Nangle is from that catching the traffic, as you say, Bagsy, at the wrong point in time. He's got Boak ahead of him as well in the Corvette. So going to catch him at the wrong part of the track. And a little wiggle as well for Nangle. He's really wringing the neck of this thing through Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel, and actually doesn't trouble the apex at Chapel either, out to the hangar straight. And here you get past it and see, look at that, 1.3 seconds off his PB. So he did lose quite a lot of time, not only coming out of Brooklands and Luffield, but also being caught up, wringing the neck of that Lola through the Maggots, Beckett's, Chapel combination of corners.
Osrob's up on his personal best by 3/10 and Stairs by a 10th, but there's only a 10th between them, so we could see Osrob jump Stairs here for 3rd place.
Well, here they are. They're down to the final sequence of corners. The Stairs is ahead of him on track at the moment. They're line astern. So Stairs will come across the line, stop the clocks at 47.1. Osrob does a 47.4. So they both improve, but they stay where they are. So they're both occupying row 2 at the minute. They close the gap down, but they've still got a long way to go to catch Cam Costa. And where is Costa at the minute? He's actually sitting in the garage. So if he doesn't leave now, he won't get another lap, but he's almost just about ready to put his feet up, I think, Bagsy, because he's got that much. He's got half a second on Nangle at the moment, but I'll tell you what, he want to be out there just to be on the safe side, because if he does get jumped, he will be kicking himself.
I'll be honest, I think he's probably going to be happy just to stay in there, because Nangle hasn't been troubling him on any of his more recent laps. He's been several seconds off. Costa got in the perfect lap at the perfect time as well. There was no traffic whatsoever. He got the perfect run of traffic. He timed it brilliantly, and no one else seems to be able to do it. These guys have been belting around. They haven't really come back into the pits. So their tyres are a little bit worse for wear and probably overheating a bit too once they're on their 2nd and 3rd laps. So I don't think Costa's going to be challenged.
And not only that, Bagsy, he did 3 consecutive laps, so he put his first time down, then he improved his time, got to the provisional pole, and then he banged in another quick one again. So he did 3 laps on the same set of tyres, and that's what makes it all impressive. These guys have been coming in, putting on green tyres to try and find the grip, whereas Costa just stayed out, kept the heat in the tyres, and just got faster and faster and faster, and to the point where he can now he's now putting his feet up, essentially.
Yeah, he's retired to the motorhome and is sipping a couple of cold ones at this point. So we've got Stairs coming around. He was 4/hundredths off of Nangle, and he's beaten him just by a very small margin. Well, not very small margin. He's beaten him by almost 2/10. So
and Nangle's gone
for Stairs.
And Nangle's gone to the sheds as well. So too is Osrob. So the top 4 or the top 5 are sitting up. Johnny Kirkham's jumped into 6th place. We didn't see that on our screens before. So he's now down at Cops Corner, and so he's displaced Sam Smith. Sam Smith down in 7th.
He's set quite a fast first sector time as well. Faster than Stairs, Nangle, Osrob ahead of him. Oh, sorry, not faster than Osrob, but faster than most of the cars ahead of him. So if he holds this together, this could be Johnny threatening the front row even if he goes well. There you go. He's a second up on his current time.
And he's only 2.5 tenths off the top time as well. So this is going to set the cat amongst the pigeons. This is going to displace Stairs back down to row 2. If he can get it done, or got it down to marbles too. That's going to lose him time. That's the lap gone. That is the lap gone for Johnny.
I think he can still improve on his time though if he keeps going here. I think he might get up to 4th still potentially.
That was a very, very loose race car through Stowe, and he got way offline off the apex, and even had a wiggle through the final turn as well, and stays 6th.
Unfortunate.
So, yeah, through the
That was a
marbles
really good
cost
lap
him.
for Johnny too.
It was looking really good. Through the marbles cost him. Now, Sam Smith got across the line before the flag fell, so this is his last chance to improve. Otherwise, he's starting on row 4, next door to the
line. Is number 10, Brenton Foley. He's got Snow and Wedding in front of him. He's going to try and jump. He's set a lap time pretty much equal to Wedding and Snow so far. Let's see how he goes across the line.
Stays 10th.
No improvement.
So, he stays 10th. Matt Williams is put up in the garage as well. The Ford GT on debut, starting in 12th. Let's look at Boak coming through Maggots, Beckett's and Chappell. We expected him to see him a little bit further up than what we're used to seeing. Let's see what he looks like coming out of Chappell. 3 tenths off his own PB, so that doesn't look like he's set to improve at this point. Where's Sam Smith in all this? Let's see if we can find Sam Smith. He's coming out of Chappell as well, and about to come to second sector. So 7 tenths off, but the top time, but he's also 7 tenths up on PB. So
They'll jump him to 5th at the moment, ahead of Heath Dixon and Johnny.
And if he can pick up a little bit more time, it'll be row 2.
Yeah, he's got the potential at Osrob if he has a mammoth final sector.
Down to the last couple of corners. Checkered flag is out. Last ditch chance to improve. Definitely going to be an improvement. Just how far? To the line, and it is a 47.4, and he did find that little bit extra. He found that extra half a tenth to get him onto the 4th row. It's a great job. So Sam Smith vaults 3 positions up the order, but even though Stairs up to the front row with Cam Costa, very, very late move there as well, but take nothing away from Cam Costa. He did an outstanding lap, equaled, or actually slightly better, 1/100th of a second better than what he did in practice, and straight to the top of the timesheets, and I believe his first pole in this series. So a great job for Cam Costa.
Yeah, it was a brilliant lap, and glad we got to watch it as well. But it was, yeah, it was a bit unexpected really, because we've seen Costa be there or thereabouts, but usually by the end of qualifying he's around about half a second to a second off the pace, but still up there on the top 4 or 5 positions. But yeah, today he's absolutely knocked it out of the park. He's clearly very in tune with the track and his car at the moment, and hopefully he can manage to transfer that into a race win. But 90 minutes is a long time. 90
minutes is certainly a long time, and he's done everything right to this point. He's been quickest in practice, he's quickest in the qualifying session, and hopefully he will have a solid race as well, because that's one thing that's eluded him in this series so far, is not being able to piece together a good solid race. He's picked up points and he's ranked quite nicely in the championship, but to take it to that next level he needs to get the race win under his belt, and what a way to do it than coming out of the halfway point of the season before and finishing off the European League before we start hitting the Asia Pacific stuff.
Yeah, it's a good way to continue the decision. And also he's in quite a close fight for second in the championship. It's 19 points Osrob, 18 points Costa, 16 points Nangle. So a first here would be quite excellent. He's had a second and a third in this series. He hasn't got to that top step yet because it's been occupied by Sam Smith more often than not.
And in the case of Jamie Snow, who was the winner over at Daytona, so it's only been the top step of the podium's only been occupied by 2 drivers all season in LMP2. So I think it's about time at this rate. It's certainly looking like, well, just based on how qualifying has gone, and a late lap from Sam Smith to get 4th overall, in qualifying, that his perfect record might just be under threat, not only from Cam Costa, but also potentially from his teammate as well, in Stairs, showing some good speed as well in that session.
Yeah, Stairs, who unfortunately has only been able to participate in one race so far. He did come third in that race, so he definitely has the pace. Came third behind Costa and Sam Smith. So I think it's hotting up quite well for this battle. I think any of the top four are definitely in with a chance.
No, certainly. It looks like it's going to be a good battle if it continues, if the form we've seen in qualifying and in practice to date certainly carries over. Take nothing away from our pole sitter, though, also in GT. I believe Lewis Wedding is probably, if it's not his first, it'll be his second pole in GT category for this series.
Third.
Or it might be his third. If you want to check on the numbers for me, that would be fantastic. But he's up at the pointy end, and he'll be starting a full row in front of his nearest championship rival as well. So he needs some points, Lewis Wedding, to get his GT defence back on track. And hopefully this is the perfect opportunity to do it. He's got that Bentley going, but we know that those Corvettes are very, very quick. And Brenton Foley will be starting, the series leader in GT class will be starting out of P10 or P3 in the GT class.
Yeah, and something to remember about the GT class is that it runs a different point system to the LMP2 class. LMP2 class is 10 for the win, 8 for first, 6 for second, and then 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 down to 8th, and then everything past that gets no points. The GT3 though does 25 points, 20, 16, 13, and then 5th gets 11 down to 0 for 15th, and then anything below that gets a 0 as well. So a win, he's 17 points off the championship leader's Wedding. So really a win with Foley having an issue will put him straight into the lead of the championship if Foley can't finish.
Certainly will. Now, just a little bit of lack of track activity for the moment, and that is deliberate. There is a driver's briefing going on. Now, Bagsy, there's an interesting point that we need to raise tonight regarding the safety car, which is what all the drivers will be being briefed on at the moment. Do you want to fill the audience in for us, please?
Yeah, so because for people who've watched F1 here and MotoGP, you'll know that the pit lane, you basically skip the final chicane and final corners, and it goes straight on and then into the pit lane, which means that, first off, this pit lane transit time is going to be a lot lower than normal circuits because you're skipping a decent chunk of the track. But also because of that, the safety car comes in a lot earlier and it gives the green flag earlier. So despite the flag going green, the drivers aren't going to be going straight away at the start because they'll need to get around the final set of corners and go 2 by 2 before they go green at the line. I believe for regular safety car restarts, it'll just be single file and you can go as soon as the safety car's in. So maybe we'll see some people getting a bit feisty into the final corner rather if we have a safety car during the race.
And on that topic as well, just for the viewers to take a look on the screen, this is the pit entrance. So you can see here, even though it says Jamie Snow in the bottom there, it says Fuck Off Racing. Well, that's an interesting analogy there. If we just we'll just pan to the right just a little bit here so you can see what's going on. So there is the pit entrance, and in the distance there is Stoke Corner, which is turn 15, and you'll see the cars will come down the slight incline from turn 15, and for those that want to go into the pits, they'll peel off to the right. For those continuing to go straight on, they'll go over the rise and into turn 16, 17, the Vale Corner. And if we pan our camera slightly to the right here, you'll see that's the racing line over there. So the pace car will go into the pits at that point there, and then the leader will just have to hold speed until the pace car takes down the pit lane through here and around the corner, and then the green flag will be shown well and truly before the cars are ready to go.
Yeah, so there'll be many words being said and hopefully listened to, although I can hear some sounds of the pit lane, so it might be that the briefing has ended. Just having a look, we do have several cars out on track, so I think shorter briefing than last week, that's for sure. They were in the pit lane up until only 2 minutes left in warm-up for last week's briefing, so apparently they've got it across rather quickly and succinctly, and people are getting in some final sighters and doing some pit lane practice.
There are a few people coming in and doing some pit lane stops by the look of it. Draper's out on circuit at the moment, and it looks like he's coming in to do a couple of practice pit stops as well. But not only that, Bagsy, we did have a remarkably clean race last weekend at Spa as well. So the drivers should all be commended for how clean they attacked that circuit, and that'll probably be reiterated by Lewis Wedding, just to make sure that we all did very, very well last time out. Let's make sure we continue to do it again, but obviously there's one or two little track-specific things for Silverstone, and the safety car is the biggest one. Should the safety car be called?
Yeah, definitely. It was only the one safety car in Spa, and that was sort of like, it was one that could have gone either way. It didn't necessarily need to be called, but it was, and it worked out certainly well for the strategy, and it set us up for a grandstand finish between Brock Harvey trying to get there on fuel between the GT3s following him up, but unfortunately penalties galore for track cutting in Spa. They're slightly less stringent here. You don't have corners like at the top of Radion and such that you can cut too easily, but it is still possible. So you can't get too cheeky with Maggots and Beckett's and Chapel, and also running wide at a couple of the corners is frowned upon. And only 5 track cuts before you get a penalty.
Well, speaking of that, we actually just saw probably about a couple of seconds ago, as you were mentioning about being greedy with corners, Luke Joyner just went a little bit wide at Cop's Corner, given it is an outlap at the moment. But that is another one where the temptation is there to take it a bit faster, because we know in a Formula 1 car it can be close enough to flat, if not flat nowadays. And it's definitely the temptation there to take it at full chat, but you do have to lift, and you can use the curb, but if you go over that curb at full chat and keep your foot in it, you will be handed a track cut there at that particular corner.
Just noticed that Jamie Snow is in the Chevrolet this week now. It appears to be a camouflage paint scheme for his Chevrolet, which I can only say is a good thing, because it means you're less likely to be able to see the Chevrolet. It's hideous body kit. It
is. You're talking the Cadillac, I would dare say, not the Chevrolet.
Sorry, Cadillac.
Yes.
I don't know. It's so disturbing to my eyes. I can't. It renders my brain inoperable.
Yes, we're talking. So we haven't ended up with 2 Cadillacs in the field. Usually we have Lewis Cugley around as well, but Lewis not on the grid for today's race, as drivers continue to practice their pit ins with 30 seconds left on the clock. And Stairs giving us a good example of slowing down to get into the pits very, very promptly. Just getting a few extra people loading into the server late. So there will be a couple of starters from the rear of the grid, it appears, because we only had 22 in qualifying, and we've now got 24, so there will be a few drivers to start from rear. Checkered flag is out to end the warm-up session, and you know what happens next. We go racing. 90 minutes ahead of us for the final leg of the European section of the WEC Series for AMS Oz. Looking forward to going to the Asia Pacific leg. We've got 3 very, very distinct and different circuits coming up. We're going to have a trip to the Fuji Speedway in Japan. We're going to have a trip to the Shanghai International Circuit, where Formula 1 is hosted in China, and we're also going to have a home finale at Albert Park. So 3 very unique and very different circuits coming up for the next 3 rounds of the WEC.
Yep, it's the start of the second half of the season, and it's still all to play for in both championships. Sam Smith, despite having won the last 3 races, isn't that far ahead. and if he has a bad race, it's going to cost him significantly. Obviously, he can't lose the lead of the championship here, but a DNF would be quite costly. So his goal for the rest of the season is just try and get home every race as high as possible, and he should be able to take it. But we've seen Costa's pace here, and Nangle's pace, and even Stairs' pace. There are challenges you're yapping at his heels.
Yeah, they are nipping at his heels, certainly. So, looks like we're all on the grid, and the pace car will take us on the formation lap. And here we go. So, your grid for the 90 minutes of Silverstone, starting with LMP2 class, Cam Costa with a superb 46.4, taking pole position comfortably in the end, didn't have to do a second round of runs. Stairs with a late surge to the front and will join Costa on the first row of the grid. Second row is occupied by the Lola of Greg Nangle, still searching for that first win in the LMP2 class. He's come close, but he needs desperately to get his championship back on track. Sam Smith, can he make it 4 in a row from 4 starts? Well, he's going to have to do it from the second row of the grid, from P4. Ozrob starts from 5th, and alongside him is Heath Dixon on debut in the series. Johnny Kirkham will start out of P7 on row number 4, which concludes the LMP2 field. Let's have a look at GT, Bagsy.
Yeah, Lewis Wedding with another GT3 pole in that Bentley. He's looking to trim Oak and Foley's lead in the championship. Alongside him is Jamie Snow in his newly named team, which can only also be called FCR. Brenton Foley, championship leader by 13 points, a respectable margin. He's qualified 3rd in GT3. Rob Dunt is alongside him in the Viper. In the new McLaren that has been turned into a GT Ford is Matt Williams. Philip Boak, 2nd in championship, a bit further down than he would have liked, but he'll be looking to make his way up the field. We've seen him do it a few times. Greg Turra is 14th. Steve Bolger is 15th, the teammate of Lewis Wedding in the sister Bentley. Jaden Draper, 16th in his BMW. Brock Harvey in the little Lotus that can, hopefully won't be getting any track cuts and penalties this race. A brilliant race last round in Spa apart from that, so he'll be looking to make his way through the field. Scott Murrell in the Porsche that has had some things changed on it slightly.
Cover that later.
We'll get to that later when we get through this field. Brendan Ross is just behind him. Luke Joyner in 20th in the Ferrari. Brian Walsh in the Momo liveried Ferrari. Glenn Miles in yet another Ferrari. A lot of Ferraris at the back this race, unfortunately. Mike Coulson is 23rd in the final Lotus. And Matt Schwass starting from the back in his BMW.
Well, pace car is in, and you know what that means. It means that we are about to go green. So Cam Costa has control of the field for this start. Round the final couple of corners. They'll do their best to stay side by side here. Heath Dixon be given a stop-go penalty. Now, I'm not sure what the reason for that is. You might want to take a look at that, Bags, because I don't think that, unless he's ahead of a car, that he should be there, but have a look into that anyway and see what's caused it. But Costa gets to the line and hits the gas now, but Stairs is alongside him already, but decides to fall back into line as they scoot through turn 1 for the first time. Costa pulls out just a little advantage. Stairs tries to stay in touch. Nangle's on his heels. Behind him, Sam Smith as well. So it's Lone Stern. Nangle slips around the outside of Stairs as well at turn 3 and 4, and now gets onto the back of Costa. So it's a Lola 1-2 and an Alpine 3-4. Tin Shed Racing 3-4. Ozrob right behind. Johnny right behind him. So streak down to Wellington Straight, heading towards a Brooklands corner, Bagsy.
Yeah, the back of the field, GT3, there's been a big off. I can't quite see. It's Rob Dunt has had a big off, so that's a shame for him. He's down 5 positions now, 6 positions, 7 positions. He's almost lost it on the hanger straight here. He's getting passed by Matt Schwass, who started in last. So that's a terrible, terrible start for Rob Dunt. On the other hand, it's been a brilliant start for Matt Schwass. It's a tale of 2 starts there. Schwartz up 5 positions, Dunk down 9.
Yeah,
Schwartz about to go up to 6 positions.
Looks like there's a few Ferraris as well that were off the track as well around Rob Dunn, so probably not the only man that's got involved there. But meanwhile, back out in front, Cam Costa attacking Maggots, Beckett's and Chappell for the first time in anger, and now out onto the Hangar Straight. So he's got a 2.5 tenths of second, or 2.5 tenths gap at the moment. Now it's out to half a second, but all in a line. Look at this. Costa, Nangle, Stairs. Ozrob having a look on the inside back here at Sam Smith and got the job done. So Ozrob goes through. Now Sam Smith's got to drive a stop-go penalty hanging over his head. I'm not sure what on earth is going on there. So maybe there was a little bit of trouble coming around the final corner, or final couple of corners before the start actually happened there, because Dixon still got one over his head as well. And so too Johnny. I think those ones probably need to may end up getting rescinded, because it obviously was a little bit of difficulty to try and keep them in line before the green flag got shown. So you might want to take a look into that, Bagsy, and see what you can see. Meanwhile, Lewis Wedding heads the GT field ahead of Jamie Snow and Brenton Foley. So the top three were as they were from where they qualified, as this race settles down finally after lap 1. Then strung out a little bit. No real close on-track battles apart from the battle that's out front. But the Bentley looking mighty fine at the moment as it heads down the Wellington Straight for the second time, and opening up a nice little advantage over Jamie Snow to the tune of 1.2 seconds at the moment. Meanwhile, it's still Cam Costa leading out in front. Nangle's doing his best to go with him here. The two Lolas out in front, just trying to settle down into a race rhythm, and rather quickly. We saw how quickly Costa got going with his qualifying runs. He got faster and faster and faster, but Nangle got a much better exit that time out of Chapel Corner, and now down the Hangar Straight, right in the wheel tracks in that slipstream there, applying the blowtorch nice and early. Just happy to settle then, though. A much better line from Nangle. Will he think about having a go into the last turn? No, Costa goes defensive. So Costa already a little bit worried, having to go defensive early. And it's only lap 2.
Right. Sorry for the delays there. I'm back. Just was checking out, working out some stewarding things in the background. You see, Sam Smith is getting harassed a bit further back by Johnny. He's already lost a fair bit of time on this front group of 4. Yep. So I'll be worried. Johnny goes down the inside. And
actually just noticed as well, Bagsy, that Stairs has been given a stop-go. Now, I'm not sure what that was for, whether or not he did take to the escape road out of turn 1. I'm just going back to have a look at the replay here just to see what has happened. And, yeah, took way too much curb through the first turn and stayed on the asphalt. Actually rescinded a place to Ozrob as well. So, a bit of a hairy, scary moment for Stairs there. And he falls back to 5th place overall. So, he did get out of the throttle to avoid Ozrob there. So, down to 4th place. Sam Smith down to 6th. So, a bit interesting there. So, Sam Smith still with the drive-through, with a stop-go on his head. Stairs as well. As the stewards continue to look at what has happened there, but LMP2 has settled down for the most part of it, although the real focus is out in front. So Nangle still harassing the back of Cam Costa. Ozrob trying to do his best to stay in touch here. Stairs getting harassed a bit by Johnny Kirkham back there as well. Will Costa go defensive again into Vale Corner? He did on the last lap. And this time, still goes defensive, but not to the same vein. So he's obviously a little bit worried that Nangle's continuing to gnaw away. But so far, he's soaking up the pressure. 3 laps down, and they start lap 4. Good lap there from Nangle, a 48.0. His best was a 47.6. So settling down to a rhythm quite as quickly as they possibly can here. Meanwhile, let's have a look a bit further back and see what's going on. So, Brian Walsh at the back of the GT field. Joyner, I think, and Walsh were involved in the little altercation where Dunt had a bit of an issue there. We've got Mike Coulston's off the circuit as well. So, something's happened to Mike Coulston. He's just on the grass at Maggots, and he'll get himself going again. Let's see if we can pick up what happened to Coulston. Just down the straight here, and straight on. So a loss of power or a loss of something temporary, all it was. That's what happened to him. He went straight on, but obviously into a safe spot, thank goodness. Just a local yellow. And he now resumes at the back of GT field.
Nagle's right on the back of Costa again. He got alongside him at one point. There, as they come through Maggots and Beckett's, he's had a big moment there. Has Greg Nangle? He's all over the back. That dirty air is really affecting him, but he's still managing to keep the car going at speed, despite all that, which is quite amazing. He's going to be in the slipstream down the straight. Here they go, as also behind because he stares, getting harassed by Johnny now. Yeah,
so Cam Costa not only got to worry about Greg Nangle, but he's also got to worry about Ozrob, because Ozrob's closed these two down since he's broken the shackles and got past Stairs when Stairs went off track on the previous tour. So this two-car battle has now become a three-car train, and they complete lap 4. Costa that time with 48.5, Nangle 48.3, Ozrob 47.8, so that's where he closed it down. He got a much, much better, cleaner lap in there than the two guys ahead, and that's why this train's happening. Meanwhile, here's Stairs being harassed by Johnny, so a pair of Alpines together, and Sam Smith trying to close them down as well. So Stairs down 2 spots where he started.
He's going to have a go at the end of the hangar straight. He's right behind Costa.
Wellington Straight, here we go. Down into Brooklands. No, not quite close enough. We've got another yellow flag, local yellow flag as well, so there'll be no passing through this section. There'll be the line astern. And I dare say Nangle will try and line him up. Maybe for a run out of Cops, maybe for a pass down into Stowe. The yellow's been cleared. Yeah, feigns and has a little bit of a look. Ducks back in to take the ideal line here through Stowe. Sorry, not through Stowe, through Cops. I apologise. Rob's just lost touch a little bit, but just keeping a watching brief on this lot here, and they've got, I think that might be Glenn Miles just ahead that they're coming up to. They'll probably get past him. Oh, this is a bad catch, badly caught time, but got off the line quickly. And this is Nangle's opportunity because Costa was compromised. And he'll have to get something done here because Ozrob's looking very, very menacing back there as well. He closed the gap back down again, but no, tucks back in through Stowe. Had a little bit of a moment there too, Nangle, but he's going to look to the outside. Costa goes defensive again. Can Nangle drive around the outside? No, he's not close enough. Oh, and did Rob give Nangle a bit of a nudge there?
Definitely contact there. Definitely contact.
Yes.
But nothing too bad. Doesn't look like any damage has been done to either car. Heath Dixon's closing on Sam Smith as well now. This is going awfully for Sam Smith. He's about to drop to last in the LMP2 field.
Oh, Nangle took a little bit too much curb than he liked and dropped the outside of his left-hand wheels on the grass there through Farm, and now has lost touch a little bit with Cam Costa. And then we've got GT traffic getting out of the way. It's Brian Walsh. Oh, Walsh has gone a bit AWOL there between Loop and Aintree.
I'm not sure it was covered, but we've lost Draper as well.
So we've lost Jaden Draper, and we've lost Mike Coulston as well. So Coulston's Gremlins struck him down at the Maggots corner. Well, not just a one-off. Looks like it was terminal. So he's unfortunately out of this running, and Jaden Draper's had a horrible run of luck recently too, not only with computer dramas, but also with dramas in the race, finishing not managing to finish at all, and in actual fact getting out of getting himself not finishing the races very, very early in the piece. So
just in GT3, Jamie Snow's currently leading GT3 by a good 2.5 seconds.
Snow's found his way up the order quite quickly, didn't he? Because he was second on the road, and he's gotten past Wedding. Wedding was the pole sitter in GT. He's dropped down to third in class. So Snow from Williams from Wedding.
He dropped down to fourth at one point. I think he maybe made a mistake because he's behind Foley as well. And he's taken him a couple laps to get past Foley. And Foley isn't really letting him rest either. While Wedding's trying to pass Williams, Foley's reminding him that he's still there. So this is going to be an interesting battle between these guys. And as they do battle, it's giving Jamie Snow sort of a license to just head off into the sunset, really.
It certainly is. Well, Cam Costa gets down and sets a quick lap, 47.4. That was a good lap for Cam Costa because he had a bit of traffic fall his way there, and he's got a gap on an angle at the moment of 0.6 of a second. Osrob's just dropped away a little bit. They caught Luke Joyner at the last couple of corners, and Costa and Nangle managed to slip through, but Rob didn't manage to get the pass done, so he's got all the work to do at the minute. Meanwhile, Stairs has still got Johnny behind him. They've now caught up to Joyner. They'll get him down the Wellington straight. There they go. Sam Smith has dropped right off the back of this Trez. Well, in actual fact, Heath Dixon has rounded up Sam Smith.
To Heath Dixon in the final lap as Johnny goes at the inside at the end of the Wellington straight.
Beautiful move.
The outside, but he's got it done.
Beautiful move from Johnny. That's a textbook passing manoeuvre. Let's have a look at how he got this done, because he lined it up, and he lined it up nice and early, because he got a much better exit out of turn number 5. They got past Joyner. Stairs moved over to take the normal racing line. Johnny just a little bit later on the brakes. Got alongside, and Stairs did the right thing. Just sidestepped him, gave him the room, and just didn't fight it.
Sorry, I believe Bolger spun in Maggots and Beckett's in front of our 2 leaders, Costa and Nangle, and that was almost a horrific crash involving the front 2.
Well, he's going very, very slowly, so again, we are having a look at the replay right now. So he was caught up behind some GT traffic. He was actually caught up behind Brendan Ross and Matt Schwartz there. Oh, he got into the back of... Oh, that's a nasty... Great avoiding action from the leaders. So Bolger got into the back of Brendan Ross coming through Beckett's and lost the front end.
There's a lot of traffic here for Costa and Nangle. Nangle is right at the back of Costa, but it's just, this could end quite poorly at the moment.
Well, let's go back to the front of the field, because you're right, they're coming through the same traffic that Bolger was tagged onto the back of. So now they're up the inside of Scott Murrell. Now Murrell wanted to turn in there, but Costa was right there. They've got Brock Harvey ahead as well. So in actual fact, that's a bit of a blessing for Costa, because he got round Murrell where it's taken Nangle a little bit longer to get around them. In the meantime, they're all out wide there too. Harvey's on the grass, Murrell's on the grass, and then meanwhile it's given Costa some breathing room. So that's the traffic's really falling for Costa luckily at the moment.
Has almost taken out Brock Harvey there. He came so close to the back of his car.
And this traffic's also allowed Johnny to catch up onto the back of Osrob as well. So the GT traffic, they're having their own little battle, and they're more than entitled to. But the LMP cars are so much faster.
Oh, Stairs just had a big moment trying to get past Scott Morrill there.
Yeah, Stairs off on the grass. We could see that as well. So this traffic is not being kind to some of the LMP2 cars, but for Cam Costa, it's falling very, very fortunately at the moment. And Harvey's got Stairs on his outside, so lets him go the long way round.
Yeah, we're only 8 laps in, so that's why they're having so much trouble getting through this traffic, because it's still all bunched up for the start of the race. So that's it's going to be interesting if that's something we see every 8 laps with this group battling hammer and tongs while leaders are battling and trying to get through. No,
you're certainly right. We'll be certainly interesting to see how all that shakes out, given we're only 15 or getting down to 15 minutes into this 90-minute Enduro 2, and they're already starting to get through the GT backmarkers that are already having some almighty scraps going on. Meanwhile, let's have a look down the GT field and see what's going on. So here's Jamie Snow, and he's actually stolen quite a nice march on Matt Williams in the Ford GT. Matt Williams actually behind him, so down the inside, Lewis Wedding and Matt Williams, a little bit of argy-bargy there, so Matt was in, and Foley buys into this as well. Little bit untidy, so glad we caught...
ambitious from Foley, to be honest.
We cut to the GT battle at precisely the right moment, because Wedding was made a move on Matt Williams and made it stick. Matt tucks back into the slipstream of the Bentley, and Foley wanted to buy into it as well as they came through the last, or those couple of corners.
Oh, Williams has spun.
Oh, Williams has spun it! Matt Williams has spun it off of, it looks like Cop's corner. So, a bad mistake from Matt Williams. Let's see if we can pick it up from the onboard shot. Here we go. Bonnet cam with Matt Williams. Caught up behind Lewis Wedding. Wedding taking a slightly more line. Oh, he got on the inside curb. He put his right side wheels on the inside of turn 9. Took way too much curb, and that was all she wrote for the Ford GT. So now he falls back into the battle pack. He falls down to 12th.
Osrob's just absolutely being balked by the traffic of Rob Dunn, and Johnny's going to go around his outside, going down Hanger Straight.
Well, here we go. Rob on the inside, Johnny on the outside. Johnny tries to go the long way around. You're going to be in the marbles there, son. You keep going like that. And unfortunately for Johnny, the pass does not materialise. So a little bit of traffic again for the LMP2 cars at precisely the wrong moment. And it ends up costing you. Now, Johnny was a bit wide off the last turn too. Now, Stairs has got a bit of a sniff as well. You're going to look to get past the other Alpine here down the front straight. Feigns it look at turn 1. Johnny stays true to his guns, gets back underneath Rob's rear wing here. Rob goes defensive, so a trio of Alpines, and Johnny's deep. Stairs is back underneath, but Johnny will have the line for turn number 4. Covers it off there nicely, but can Stairs slip one back down the inside here? This is where Johnny got him last time when they had to get past Joiner's Ferrari a couple of laps ago. Stairs a bit further back this time, and elects to stay behind for the time being because they're catching Joiner's Ferrari again. And look at Joiner. Joiner's caught, we held up Osrob as well, so now gets out of the way and lets the field go. Johnny right back onto the back of Osrob as well, so this battle is starting to really heat up between these three Alpines. Meanwhile, Costa has still got margin on Nangle, but he's only got a margin by 0.7 of a second at this rate. Oh, Rob had a bit of a bad luck there because Boki was in the way, and that means Rob has to go defensive as Johnny still threatens there. Stairs is still stalking the pair of them, and this battle for the third step on the podium is really raging on. Johnny got a good run out of the Beckett's Chapel complex there, and he's going to try going the long way around again. They're coming up to Matt Williams and Greg Turrer as well. Rob goes defensive. Johnny's going to try and sweep around the outside again. That's a better line. That's a much better pass from Johnny, and that was a
tail right out there just to show off as well.
And Rob goes into the pits, so that's an early move for Osrob. So that probably is going to be strategy call, I would imagine, and probably banking on a safety car as well. So let's have a look at that pass from Johnny because that was a superb pass. If we go to the bump to the onboard cam, you would see got the job done quite easily in the end as they shoot through the field, but that was a much better passing move. Meanwhile, Costa out in front. It's got 1 second. It says 1 second on Nangle, but that was at the control line, coming down to the sector 1 split any moment now. It's still half a second, so Nangle is still there, and this now the traffic's starting to fall foul for Cam Costa. He's a little bit wide here too. Nangle's got underneath him. Nangle's got underneath him here at Luffield and has used the traffic as a bit of a picket. There's contact, and there's contact. Costa probably didn't realise he was there, but Nangle is through. Nangle is through. And as they streak down now towards turn number 9, Cops Corner, we now have a new race leader.
Yeah, that was clever from Nangle there. As you said, used the traffic as a pick and got around him. Costa probably didn't think that Nangle was going to have so much speed and just absolutely, basically bounced off the side of him. Luckily, not too much damage has been done. Costa looks like he's going to have a go down the Hanger Straight. He is within 0.2. He is in the slipstream, and he has so much more speed. Nangle's going to make him go to the outside. Can he sweep round like Johnny did before? He can't. Nangle's better on the brakes. He's out on the marbles, and he's not going to get through there.
No, Nangle's going to go defensive here now into turn 16. If he gets any sort of sniff that he's there, but no, he holds position. So Cam Costa's is going to have to bide his time for a little bit longer here, but he had a good run through the traffic for the first 10 laps, Cam Costa. And on lap 11, unfortunately, came across the traffic at the wrong time, and the Professor pounced, and he pounced with fantastic effect, and he now has the lead of this race. So,
as we've said before, the traffic giveth and taketh away. The traffic took away a win for Nangle, or a potential win for Nangle, way back at the start of the season, or the second race of the season at Sebring, and it's given him the race lead here now in Silverstone.
Well, it certainly has, and the pair of Lolas still going to get their foot down and continue to pile on the deficit to Johnny, because look, it's out to 10 seconds at the moment.
Sorry to confuse you. I think we've lost Lewis Wedding.
Lewis Wedding.
I was watching Stairs get through the traffic and get past Wedding, and Wedding sort of, his car slid off and disappeared, and is now, I'm seeing nothing in its place. He's getting passed by Tara, who had a spin earlier, and he's out of the race.
I think you might be right. So the victim yet again potentially. Oh, Cam Costa has. Cam Costa's got back through. Sorry, Bagsy. While we were looking there at what was happening with Lewis Wedding, Cam Costa has got through. Oh, Cam Costa had a big tank slapper coming out of Luffield as well. So let's see what happened here, because they had Brian Walsh ahead. I was watching this on the replay. So Walsh went to the inside. Nangle and Costa tried to go to the outside. And, what's happened there? I think it looks like Nangle went wide and Costa stayed low. Costa now resumes the lead of the race.
Yeah, I think Nangle just went way off the track by the looks of it, because unfortunately the camera angle we had there wasn't the best. Didn't give us the most information, but point back towards Costa. They've got Johnny is 13 seconds off of them now, so this looks like a 2-horse race for the lead of this race at the moment.
Well, Costa's deep. Costa's gone deep, sorry, and Nangle slips back through again. So this time it's a little mistake from Costa down at turn number 3. So just going a little bit too deep on the brakes, and Nangle now picks up the lead again. So this battle is still going on, and will probably only be resolved, I'd imagine, when we get to pit stop territory, as the gap at the first sector split between Nangle and Costa comes up on our screen as 666, the number of the beast.
Heath Dixon's been passed by Sam Smith again at some point in the previous few laps, so I'm not sure. I think it was a mistake from Dixon as well, because it doesn't look like he's pit. So interesting with Ozrob is that his pit, basically, unless he gets a safety car that lasts for a while, he's not going to be able to 2-stop on that. We think 2-stop's going to be the most, it's the fastest way around, and probably the most, probably the easiest to work with your tyres and fuel load. But by pitting so early, he's almost committing to a 3-stopper there.
Yeah, he's purely and simply gone in from a strategy point of view, I think, because when he got passed around the outside by Johnny, he thought, well, enough's enough. I don't want to get stuck in the traffic that's coming up. I want to run in some clear air. But you're right.
Matt Williams says pit.
He's going to need to get a safety car in order to make this work. So pit stops starting to shake out in GT by the look of it, if Matt Williams is in. Meanwhile, your GT leader is still Jamie Snow, as Nangle, a 46.5. Not that far away from a qualifying lap. The Cam Costa's qualifying lap was a 46.3. Sorry, 46.4. And Nangle's not that far away at all. So Snow leads Foley, who leads Boak in GT class. Lewis Wedding, unfortunately, appears to may have been the victim yet again of internet dilemmas, and I don't believe he'll be very impressed. I don't believe he'll be impressed with what Optus have to say for his explanations, if that's indeed who we suspect the provider is. I think we've heard that name mentioned a few times.
Yeah, usually followed by a string of expletives.
Yes, which we will not go into. Well, 25 minutes gone. Still plenty of time left to go. We're waiting to see the first of the LMP pit stops shake out. But as of yet, only Ozrob is the man to take on some tyres and some fuel. And this field begins to settle down. Let's have a look. It's good to see the reappearance of this Viper, the Dunt driver coaching, the Cat Eye Viper. You've seen something, Bagsy?
Yeah, Brendan Ross has clouted the side of Brock Harvey from the looks of it just about 15-20 seconds ago.
Well, coming up to have a look at the replay here and see what has happened. So Brendan Ross on the replay, coming through the last couple of corners. Oh yeah, he did give him a mighty whack as well. But no, looks like no harm done, thankfully. As Nangle sets a 46.43, and I'm looking at the list here, and that's probably going to get very close to, if not the fastest lap that we've seen all race long, and not only all race long.
Nangle spun.
Nangle spun. What's happened to Nangle? So he set a quick lap, and then he's unfortunately spun.
Let's have a look at where he did it. Oh, he got traffic too, so he had Matt Williams. Oh, when he bounced across the curb at turn 2, that's unsettled the car. And then got into turn number 3 and then turn number 4. Oh, and lit it up off of turn 4, so he did it all on his own. So he had a scruffy couple of corners, but then did it all on his own.
Yeah, see, Matt Williams seemed a bit aggrieved at their rudeness in passing him as well, because he flashed the lights at him, although maybe it was just in greeting as they went past. But yeah,
well, the
that's
passing,
not ideal for Nangle.
Well, the passing move happened at turn 2 as well, which is not typically a passing move. So Nangle just catching the back marker traffic of Williams at precisely the wrong moment. And look at the gap. The gap's opened up to 6 seconds or 6.8 seconds. Nangle taking some grass as well through Chapel. Now it's out to 7 seconds.
Car in the pits as well.
All right.
So 3 stops starting to shake out too.
So the pit stop starting to shake out, and they can, if they can stretch it with a bit of fuel saving, then they might be able to get 2 stops from here. But it just depends on how things are all going to shake out. So Costa has the lead of this race again, and now he's got it comfortably as well. So a 47.6 that time for Costa. Let's go back to Nangle. A 55.8, so falling foul of a little bit of lap traffic, and also just lighting it up a little bit too much out of turn number 4.
Oh, Heath Dixon's had a spin as well.
Goofy
coming out of Chapel.
There's a Goofy with a spin out of Chapel on debut. As Nangle now has to try and reel in Cam Costa again. Well, Bagsy, most of it started to settle down a little bit. I mean, the field's quite well strung out. Doesn't seem to be really too many on-track battles in LMP now. Well, actually, seeing Heath Dixon's coming in for the pits. So, obviously, those tyres have cried enough. And in he comes for his first stop. So let's have a look. Anybody else in the lane? Doesn't look like. Very fortunate. Got one of the very first bays. And going to be a fuel only. No, Heath Dixon's retired. It's a retirement. So Dixon out of this race. So we lose our first LMP2 car. So we're down to 6. As we continue to look through the field. But most of the field seems to have settled down now. Now we're just waiting on stops to take place. As Ozrob manages to find his way past Scott Murrell here. Now we should come back to Scott Murrell as well, Bagsy. We'll just get him on the screen so we can see how he's going. There he is. He's in 18th place and sort of caught a bit of no man's land. He's just running a lonely old race on his own. But the engineers at the Porsche racing team have come up with an unusual way to try and make some pace in this car.
Yeah, it seems that their unusual way was to sneak into the BMW factory and steal an engine and plop that in the front instead of a Porsche engine, or rather the rear.
Well, apparently it has a BMW engine. It sounds like a BMW engine, but it's got a Porsche badge on it. So it's not the best car, and on top of that, it's got a nice, awful dint in that left-hand side driver's door area. You'll see as it comes past. There it is. So it's obviously been in the wars somewhere as well. Got a local yellow flag somewhere on track as well. We're just trying to see what's happening. It's also Luke Joyner, I think, as well as DNF'd, so that's probably what the yellow flag there is for. So we've lost a few runners in GT, lost 4 runners in GT and 1 in LMP. As Murrell...
leader of GT3 is pitting. Jamie Snow is in.
Jamie Snow in, so that will
Looks
give...
like Brendan Foley's going to follow him in as well.
Well, that'll give Murrell back his lap as well. It'll give any of the GT cars that are a lap down their lap back. As Steve Bolger is in as well. So Matt Schwass has been in and he's gone. Bolger's in and gone. And looks like Foley has come in as well. So Foley at the back of shot there. Jamie Snell was a bit further up. And Bokin as well. So right on the half-hour mark, they make it happen. So definitely some 2 stoppers happening for GT. We'll wait to see how they shake out.
For Snow and Foley.
Alright, so Foley taking on tyres. Boak in. What's Boak going to do? Is he going to take on his tyres? We've got Duntz in there in the background as well. So Boak at one end, Foley at the other end, and tyres for Boak as well.
Dunt trundling down the lane, the cat-eyed Viper. Great to see that back. First time we've seen it back since Daytona. And he's taking on tyres and fuel as well. So they're all taking tyres and fuel in GT class. That's interesting. So we might see a fuel-only stop toward the end of it all. So Foley's on the move. Snow's on the move. And obviously Boak and Dunt will have to sit for a little bit longer.
We did hear from Lewis Wedding, now he's out of the race, I don't feel that bad spoiling his strategy, but he seemed to think that you couldn't double stint tyres without being very careful to them, so we might see people taking tyres at every stop. And he also thought the two-stopper was the way to go, that you should have to fuel save a little bit depending on your car, but you should be able to make it on 2 stops. We're looking at the fact that the LMP 2s are still going. They don't have to go too much further to be able to make it a 1-stop race.
Yeah, well, in that case for Ozrob, it'll still end up being a 2-stop race then, won't it, if that is the case, because he's come in quite some miles early. Meanwhile, Jamie Snow's in and out and resumes the lead of GT. So he came in as the race leader, and in the pits he had Boak go past him, only to his pit box though, and then picked up the race lead again as soon as he exited the pits. So comfortable margin for Snow at the moment. Meanwhile, let's have a look through the LMP field and see what's going on. So Costa out of Stowe, now heading down to the final series of corners, and Nangle's coming in. So Nangle got the gap down. So he got the gap down to 4.8 seconds. So he'd chipped away and chipped away and chipped away after his spin, and now comes in with 57 minutes still on the clock to make his first stop. So this is going to be a 2-stop for Nangle for sure. 100% 2-stop for Nangle. And he's taking tyres as well. So
yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, because from the looks of it, Cameron Costa doesn't seem like he's planning on coming in anytime soon. Yeah. Johnny goes through into second and Stairs into third, and Sam Smith will get by into fourth as well. So Nangle slowly dropping down the field, but obviously everyone else has pit apart from Ozrob.
Yep.
Everyone else hasn't pit, apart from Ozrob.
Well, it's interesting to see. Ozrob is all the way back here, just coming through Maggots now, and Nangle's still in the lane. Let's see how the difference. And Nangle's on the move. So despite the spin and Ozrob pitting early, that early stop has not worked in Rob's favour. And Nangle will come out comfortably ahead. He'll come out into some clean air with a bit of luck. Then some GT cars just at the pit exit. So he'll need to be careful here. And indeed it is. He gets out ahead of Boak, so, and he'll get a little bit of clear track ahead of him. So good stop from the FCR team. And Nangle can now get the head down and start going for it. So let's see if we can get some pit stop activity going on in this particular
looks like
time
Costa's
around.
going to come into the pits.
Yeah, we're looking through the field. We're potentially going to get all the remaining LMP cars coming in. Yep, Costa's in. Can he get it stopped? He's coming in very, very quickly, and yes, he does. Gets it stopped beautifully.
With extra.
Got to stop with a little bit of wiggle room to spare. Potentially Johnny, Stairs, and Sam Smith all coming in as well. We're hearing on the pit radio, so let's have a look. And Johnny in.
Costa.
And Stairs is going.
Goes round again.
Stairs goes round again. What about Sam Smith? And Sam Smith is in. So, splitting strategy at Tin Shed Racing. Stairs will come down and get to lead a lap. So, good for the young German. Get himself a lap led.
Now,
I mean, they don't give you points for leading laps, but yes.
As Costa pulled up to his pit box, he was 56 seconds ahead of Nangle. As it is now, he is currently 15 seconds ahead of Nangle, so expect him to start moving probably the next 5 seconds.
Yep, here he goes. Costa's on the move. So Costa's on the move. Where's Nangle in all of this?
He's got lots of traffic, Nangle.
Yeah,
he's terrible for his outlap.
He's got Harvey at the final complex of corners, so Costa's going to do this pretty easily, I would imagine. He can hit the gas now. Here he goes. Up the hill. Yeah, he's got margin. And Nangle's not even in the frame. So Costa's
5 seconds on him easy.
Yeah, so Costa's going to increase his margin here. There we go. There's Nangle in the back, just coming up to the back of shot there. So he's going to probably have about half the length of the Wellington straight, I'd imagine, on Nangle. Is Cam Costa. There he is there. And Nangle, yep, He's got half the Wellington
He would have
straight.
been much closer if not for the traffic he got. He got a large amount of traffic, so maybe he probably had to come in for fuel at that point, but it's just from a
Ooh.
strategy point of view, it just didn't work out.
Sorry, Bags, we had a spinner back there. I just couldn't quite catch who it was as we were cutting to stairs through Maggots,
I think
Beckett's
it
and
was
Chapel.
Glenn Miles.
It was definitely a red car, so if it's a red car,
Yeah,
I
Glenn
bet you it's a
Miles.
Ferrari. It's Glenn Miles. So there we go. Stairs look like he's going to surrender the lead of this race. And indeed he is. So in.
Could be quite close with Johnny, though, for Stairs.
Yep. Stairs gets a stop with plenty of room to spare. Now, the effective race leader will be Cam Costa, coming through Chapel and onto the Hangar Straight now. Stairs is in the lane. Now let's see if he elects to do the same thing that all the others have done and take tyres as well. His pit box all the way at the other end. Must feel like an eternity trundling down the lane. And no tyres.
No tyres.
Oh, this is going to
Interesting
certainly be
choice.
interesting. An interesting choice. Costa
So,
through the final series of corners. Keep an eye on Stairs for me, Bagsy. Let's see where he feeds into this lot.
Brendan Ross was a drive-through.
Costa through. Nangle is 3.7 seconds behind, so he's still closing the margin down to Costa. Where's Stairs in all of this? Stairs is on the move now, so Stairs is going to come out as a net effect of third. He's going to have plenty of track position on Johnny, so great strategy call here to get the number 5 Tin Shed Racing up into third. The question's going to be, how long can he make those tyres last?
Interestingly, Sam Smith he changed tyres, but he's come out right behind Johnny. So Johnny, and he's all over the back of him. So Johnny, who really had the pace on both Sam and Stairs earlier, is now seems to be struggling a little bit. Not sure exactly what this is. Maybe Sam has put in less fuel for this stint and is planning on stopping slightly earlier.
Well, they did stop a little bit later than Rob, but also the pit stop started to kick off a little bit earlier. Some of them were Sam's very, very wide there, coming out of Brooklands at turn 6. And he's lost touch with Johnny just a little bit, so need to gather it back up nice and quick. Meanwhile, Nangle's still continuing to chip away at Costa, and look, the gap is down to 1.8 seconds, and Nangle is starting to hone in on the back of the pink number 50 Lola in leaps and bounds. He's literally halved the deficit on this lap, and it would not surprise me if we're going to have a change for the lead again in a few laps' time. Nangle seems to have really found the groove very, very quickly in this stint.
Yeah, he's really, he's put the power down and he's absolutely gunning for Costa. But we did see Costa defending quite well earlier, so I wouldn't say it's going to be as cut and dry as you've implied there, because Costa has shown he's been able to defend quite well so far.
Also, we've seen the traffic used very, very effectively by Nangle as well to pounce at the most opportune times, but also we've seen a silly mistake from both of them. We've seen Costa go deep, we've seen Nangle light it up and spin the car around, so they're not immune to silly little mistakes. And Gatton was 1.6 at the control line that time around, and still at 1.6. He continues to hone in here. Meanwhile, Costa has got Scott Murrell ahead. He's going to catch him probably between Cops and Maggot, so between turns 9 and 10. As actually Murrell thinks better of it, stays out wide, lets the leader past. Now, how does that affect Nangle? Because Nangle's going to catch him through the quick stuff as well. So now this hasn't worked out in favour of Nangle. So he's probably going to lose a little bit of time here as well, because he was wide of the apex at Beckett's. And yeah, he lost half a second there.
Yeah, and that's the only traffic really for... Yeah, there's a small match, I believe it's Brendan Ross is the next person they'll come across, and then there's still a decent gap until the next person, which is Brock Harvey.
Yes, it is. And just interesting to keep an eye on the progress of Stairs as well. So he's 11.5 seconds off the back of Nangle at the moment. Obviously didn't take tyres that time around. So you would say that Nangle is going to be able to continue to not only chip away at Costa, but continue to extend the pair of them to continue to extend the lead over Stairs as well, as the gap's now at 2.6. Then we'll wait to see what happens as Stairs comes across the line, because he's in that battle with Johnny and Sam Smith as well, and they're all going to have to make one more stop. So lost another 4 tenths to Dangle that time around Stairs, and Johnny, will wait to see what happens when Johnny crosses the line, because Stairs has 13.5 on Johnny, and now it's 14.4. So Johnny so Stairs actually making good time with the worn rubber at the moment. So see how long he can make that last. Meanwhile,
to be fair, Stairs will know where he can, where he can get to the end of the race from. We saw him pit at about 35 minutes, so he knows if he goes, he can make this stint shorter, go 13 minutes more on this stint, and pit and be able to make it to the end of the race. So he may have short fueled with that knowledge as well, which is why he's got the pace at the moment.
Potentially, you're right there, Bagsy. I would also, he's got some traffic here too in the form of Ross and Murrell. I wouldn't also hazard a bet that he may have gone for a decent amount of fuel load too, and then he'll have not only a short fill stop, but he'll also have a very light car and probably some green tyres as well to go along with it. So it'll probably be a rocket ship toward the end of it. He could go both ways here.
It definitely could. And if there's an incident between Costa and Nangle while they're fighting for the lead of this race, which looks like it's going to happen quite soon as Nangle closes within a second, it's, the scraps will be there for Stairs to pick up and waltz on through while they're busy picking up the pieces of their broken cars.
Well, the gap to Johnny's coming down a little bit again, but also that Stairs did have some traffic on that lap, so that did hamper the progress a little bit. Meanwhile, you alluded to it, Nangle's got the gap down to 1.1 now, and Costa's got traffic in the form of Brock Harvey as well. Now Harvey's on the racing line here, so Costa will have to go a long way around. Nangle's closed right up as well. Now Harvey's in an awkward spot here because that's the apex for turn 5, and he had Miles on one side, Harvey on the other. Now Nangle's got a bit of a sniff at the back of that pink number 50 Lola, but just bides his time, holds on for a little bit longer because there is a bit of traffic to come. And where are they going to catch this traffic? More importantly, it's Bolger and it's Swass, and they'll get Swass.
The lights flashing from Costa, trying to let him know he's there.
They get Swass coming through Woodcote Corner, and they'll probably get Bolger before they get down to Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel. And Bolger stays wide, smart driving, and Angle stays right in the wheel tracks of Costa as well. Menacingly.
Good driving all round.
Great drive for all of them. The passers and the passees. Or the overtakers and the overtakees. Nangle's got overlap here. Costa was going to close him down, but Nangle's gone to the outside. Great helicopter shot as they race down towards Stowe Corner. But Costa's going to hold the line here. Nangle goes slightly wider. Nangle got onto the marbles a little bit, just lost a car length there, but gathers it up. And Costa going to have to go defensive maybe? No. Had enough margin to be able to defend quite comfortably as they come down to complete lap 24, and we approach the half distance of this race. So it looks like we're going to probably get about 50 laps in at this pace, 49 to 50 laps in at this pace. It's certainly a frenetic pace. And we're at the half distance point of the race. So let's have a look through the running order. Cam Costa and Greg Nangle duking it out in front. Have been doing it just about all race long so far, as they've got a little bit of traffic there in the Ferrari of Brian Walsh. Actually, we'll just stay with this battle for a minute because Nangle has decided he want to have a go at Costa here, and Costa tried to close him down. Can the Professor sneak up the inside? Yes, he does.
Great use of the traffic there.
Great use of the traffic. Made his intentions clear rather early. Costa tried to close it down, but realised he wasn't going to be able to do so, and it would have been a bit cheeky if he did close it down all the way, so lets him go. So a change for the lead in LMP just as we were about to cut to the running order. So it's now Nangle in first, Costa in second as they negotiate Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel. Let's go a bit further back. Stairs currently holding down third position for Tin Shed Racing, having not taken tyres at the first stop. Johnny Kirkham holding down fourth place in his Lola. Sam Smith is fifth, Osrob 6th for the back end of the LMP2 field. We've lost Heath Dixon, the only LMP2 car that we have lost for the group. Jamie Snow heads GT, so he's 7th on the road and 1st overall in class. Foley has moved ahead into 2nd place outright in GT. 3rd is occupied by Matt Williams. And Phil Boak in 4th overall. Turra 5th overall. Dunt has moved back to 6th. Steve Bolger is 7th. Matt Schwass is 8th. Brock Harvey now 9th. And rounding out your top 10 is Brendan Ross, but he's being harassed by Scott Murrell, who's 11th overall. Brian Walsh is 12th on the road. And Glenn Miles, a lap down on some of the GT field, 2 laps in some cases, is 13th and last on the road and last overall in GT. Those that we've lost, Heath Dixon obviously from LMP2, Luke Joyner, Lewis Wedding, Jaden Draper and Mike Coulston have been lost out of GT3. Back to the front. Let's have a look. Nangle has got 7/10 of a second on Costa here, so he's edged away.
Yeah, he's starting to control this race from the front here. We're not sure when the last lot of pit stops is going to be, though. Also, just a note, 3rd place Stairs. Those tyres seem to be starting to get the better of him now because there is only 5 seconds between him and Johnny now. So what was a 17-second lead at the start of the stint and then held at 12 seconds for a little bit is now down to 5 seconds. So with 40 minutes and 1 pit stop left for each of these guys, it'll be interesting to see how this one plays out.
And not only that too, Bagsy, his last lap time around was a 50.8, so not a kind of lap that you want to be doing on used rubber as well. So he's committed to the strategy. He's got to make it work now. And we saw Lewis Wedding, I think it was back at Road America, use this strategy to great effect when running the tyres right down to the nub pretty much and being able to do consistent lap times. But not in this case, as Nangle continues to lead. Where is Stairs? Here he is, coming through the last sequence of corners now. And you can see Johnny in the back a shot there as well. So that gap is really coming down in leaps and bounds now. Let's have a look at the lap time as he crosses the line this time around. It is this time it's a 50.3 as well. So slightly better lap, half a second better than his last time around, but still losing time hand over fist to the car
Johnny's
with more
had a
time.
spin.
And Johnny's had a spin. Johnny's had a massive off. That is a huge off. So that's a let off for Stairs because Johnny was closing in at a rapid rate of knots. Let's see what happened to the 666 racing car. Comes onto the main straight. I've got a funny feeling he's done something like clipped the inside curb or taken too much curb. Oh, he just didn't look at anything too untoward there, Bagsy. He just took the curb on the inside of one, but just enough to unsettle the car.
Yeah, it's just a small mistake, and it cost him pretty dearly. It's cost him 12 seconds, and it's also brought Sam Smith back into the mix for 4th place. He's now only 5 seconds behind, but luckily for Johnny, he still had to negotiate a fair chunk of traffic that has included Matt Williams, Bolger, Brock Harvey, and Matt Schwass. So Johnny's got a bit of a let-off there.
Johnny, massive let-off. He's got the traffic behind him that Sam Smith still has to get through, so very lucky he didn't have to negotiate that traffic. Otherwise, Sam would have closed the gap down quite significantly. Well, meanwhile, Nangle's still leading from Costa. The gap sort of stabilising a little bit now as we get tick under 40 minutes to go. And the back end of LMP2 has settled down. Meanwhile, GT, Snow leads Foley by 5.4 seconds. And Boak, nearly getting towards 17 seconds behind his teammate here. So FCR leading in both categories at the moment. First time we can call that for a while. The founding father, Matt Williams, will be probably very happy about that, to have a leader in FCR for GT and a leader in FCR for LMP2.
He'll be less happy about how his own race is going, though. He came into pit a few minutes ago, and he'll probably have to stop one more time as well, so not the best race for him. Currently down in, I believe...
He's 12th on the road.
12th on the road, so I think that's 4th or 5th in class, I believe.
And he's got Bolger for company as well, so Bolger's not that far away
And also Harvey and Schwartz are coming up too.
Yeah, they're slowly closing in that little pack that was together at the very beginning of this race. Had been split apart for a bit and now has sort of all come back together. Meanwhile, a little bit of traffic for your GT leader coming up. You've got Ross and Miles to negotiate. We don't focus in a great deal on the GT traffic, on the GT battles, primarily because the LMP2 guys deliver so much of a spectacle when they're not only rounding up the GT cars, but also some of the battles that they deliver on track as well. But good to see. There has been a couple of battles today in GT.
There is one, unfortunately, at the moment. Greg Tarr had another spin, and he's got Rob Dunt right on him. And they've been battling quite closely since Tara's spin.
And here they are coming through Stowe. And not only that, that Viper, Tara's gone in. That releases Dunt in the cat-eyed Viper, as we like to call it. Or actually known as the cat-eyed Viper. It's the How to Train Your Dragon Viper. Down to the line he comes.
In the front is out to 3 seconds now.
Yes. Stairs coming up to lap Dunt at the moment as well, so not far away. How are Stairs' times looking actually? Because last time around he got down to a 49.4, so maybe the tyres are just starting to come back a little to him. Well, the previous lap and the time before that wasn't too bad, but we're getting some word that maybe Stairs might be coming in this lap. We can see that with a little cog and a spanner there above the number 3 for position on your screen. So let's keep an eye on that, see what happens. So Nangle is now edging away again. He's got the gap out to 2.7 seconds.
I think Stairs probably wants to go one more lap if he wants to be able to make it to the end.
Well, we've got to keep in mind too, Bagsy, that it is a time-certain race, plus 1 lap. So you've got to make sure you've got enough fuel to be able to get that done. Otherwise, you have to do some fuel saving as well. So it won't be ideal if that is the case. But we're watching that with vested interest at the moment. And Nangle gets the gap out to 3.2 seconds now. So doing a nice job to edge away here. In actual fact, last time around, Costa was quicker by 0.3 of a second. But Nangle has put the foot back down again. And dare say he'll be the quicker of the two of them this time around. Coming to the line to complete lap 29 and a 47.2 that time around to Costa's 48.0. So he found 0.8 of a second that time around. Greg Nangle.
Stairs pits.
And Stairs comes in. So an early second stop. So those tyres have had enough. And he's going to have to do some mighty fuel-saving efforts to get this thing home from here. So there'll be short shifting, there'll be lift and coast if he wants to make this home without having to do a splash and dash. Or the safety car, which has not made an appearance yet. There it is sitting at the far end of pit lane. He could just make it out as Stairs comes down to the end of the pit lane here. And there's the safety car just on the front left corner there. So we've yet to see an appearance from a safety car. We've seen one in every round so far. Just not today. Everyone been well behaved. Sam Smith comes to the line. He'll pass his teammate who's stationary in the pits. Move up to 4th temporarily. Obviously all the LMP2 cars with stops to shake out. How far can they go? Nangle still continues to lead. Got that gap out to 3.4 seconds. Now to 4.2 as they come through the sector split.
Nangle's very comfortable with his car now, and now he's got Clay. He just seems to be absolutely going for it.
Well, he's actually coming to lap Oz. He's actually coming to lap Ozrob here as well, Bagsy. So the early stop for Ozrob, and probably I would say probably not the strategy that he wanted to run. He's been running times, look at his times. Ozrob's been running times in the 51s, so it's not been going too well for him, and he's about to go a lap down to the race leader. So very rarely do we see the LMP2 cars going a lap down, but one is probably just about to in the next couple of laps. And Stairs would be far away from doing it. Meanwhile, he has stopped and resumed on the circuit, heading down the Hangar Straight at the moment, I believe. Still only the 5 retirements as we approach 30 minutes to go.
I got word in about the retirement of Heath Dixon. Seems that there was some gremlins involving wheel guns and fuel delivery that caused him to not be able to get a pit stop working correctly. So that was the reason for his retirement.
So an unfortunate mechanical pit failure for Heath Dixon. As we watch Nangle. Looks much tidier through Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel than we've seen him before. We have seen him hanging the arse end out of that car on the ragged edge a couple of times when he was battling with Costa, and now Ozrob will concede down the hanger straight to the race leader and just tuck in behind with 33 to go. Well, let's have a look through and see where Stairs has come out in all of this. So he's behind his teammate, probably the distance of the hanger straight.
Closing in quite quickly though.
Yeah, we'll have the fresh rubber as well, but 2 Bagsy. So finally getting some fresh rubber underneath that car. But he's also going to be, I'd imagine, in some sort of fuel conservation mode, or if not, he'd be praying for a safety car to come out.
Yeah, well, a safety car might not be the best, although I think actually a safety car would probably get him into a good position to win the race at this point, because he'd be able to pit without having to deal with... No, he wouldn't have to pit, sorry, while the others would, because the pit lane does close when the safety car comes out.
That is precisely accurate. The pit lane does close when a safety car comes... Well, the pit entry, more importantly, closes when the safety car comes out. So if it came out now, it would be of huge benefit to this man in the number 5, because it would compress the field and he would just merely go straight on past all those other cars that have to tour the lane. But meanwhile, it would then put an angry pack onto his rear tail with fresher tyres than he does.
Gap at the fronts go out to 5 seconds now, so
Yeah.
looks like the spirit of Cameron Costa has unfortunately been broken by Greg Nangle. He'll need a miracle to get past him at this point and catch up to him.
Yeah, well, there's been a bit of traffic as well, so Nangle not only has negotiated Ozrob, but Costa's got Ozrob. He's got a number of other cars to negotiate as well. He's getting past Turra at the moment. He's got Schwass as well, so the BMW... Sorry, Bagsy, the BMWs are not making it easy for him.
No, they're not. Also, just looking at GT3, the gap between Foley and Jamie Snow is sort of coming down slowly. It was at about 6 seconds at one point, now down to 4.5. So Jamie Snow is going to have to be careful how he goes, especially with the final set of pit stops presumably going to happen soon for GT3s. That's going to be an interesting thing to see what happens there.
Well, certainly will. Nangle's still doing 47s. He'd have 47, low 47 on that lap. Bolger gets out of the way for him as well, so he's getting all the traffic. It's all falling his way at the moment. Greg Nangle is getting a nice traffic run, nice clear bits of track as well, getting the passing moves done where they need to be done. As we approach 2/3 distance in this race, and we expect to see some pit stops in the next sort of 5 to 10 minutes, I would imagine, from the LMP2 field and the GT field for that matter, if they're going to get home on 2 stops. But Nangle doing it comfortably out in front at the moment. Now, Bagsy, the interesting thing I want to touch on here, given that we've seen how Stairs has gone with not taking on rubber at his first stop, and then taking it at the second stop, and the kind of lap times that he was doing. He was in the 50s, or the high 49s, low 50s, when the tyres went away. If you're Cam Costa and you want to try and get some position back, do you bank on the safety car, or do you go a little bit unconventional and try and play a track position game late in this piece and take no tyres?
He's got a 40-second gap to Johnny, and
they both have to stop.
Yeah, who has to stop regardless. The next person behind him who has to stop is who has already stopped. Sorry, is Stairs, who's 1 minute and 10 down. So if you assume 10 seconds less for taking tyres, it'll get him ahead of Nangle if Nangle takes tyres at the next stop. But you've got the feeling Nangle's going to get past fairly quickly and easily with the fresh rubber, and then if those tyres do really go off, if he starts overheating them and sliding them, or even has a spin because of the old rubber, then Stairs is going to be right on him and he will have thrown away a second place. So it depends on what he wants to do. If he wants to go for glory and go for the win, sure, take no tyres and roll the dice, but if he wants to just stick with his position in the championship and close in the points gap, then the sensible thing to do is just take tyres and get that second place.
Absolutely. There's a double-edged sword here. You could go either way. I mean, obviously, if a safety car comes, so it's a no-brainer to take tyres. Oh, very, very close there between Matt Williams and Cam Costa. And Matt Williams flashes the lights very, very angrily as Costa moved right down the inside of Matt Williams. And Matt was on the racing line. And that would probably be frowned upon, I would imagine.
I've got Foley in the pits, so second place in GT3 in the pits, looking to undercut Jamie Snow.
Keep an eye on that one for me. Let's see if he takes tyres on that one. Because he has taken tyres. So Costa, the gap has now gotten right out to 9.5 seconds, so approaching 10 seconds as your leader Nangle continues to circulate. Johnny's got the gap down to Cam Costa a little bit as well. It's starting to come down again. Meanwhile, Costa did have traffic on that lap as well. So a little bit of a scruffy lap time coming up for Cam Costa as he comes to the line. And yeah, 50.2. So the traffic did hurt him on that lap, and the gap is now out over 10 seconds.
Yeah, not what he was after. See, Johnny's running a bit of a lonely race at the moment. He's pretty much on track by himself with half a sector ahead of him and half a sector behind him with no one there. And in terms of people he's actually racing, he's got 35 seconds ahead of him and 25 seconds behind. So he's doing well to not make any mistakes here, because it's easy to get lulled into a false sense of security when you're by yourself like this and just banging out the laps, because he's in third at the moment, although will become fourth once he has his final pit stop. But he's got a chance at catching Stairs when Stairs is on all the tyres at the end of the stint, at the end of the race.
Yep. Well, with less than 30 minutes to go, let's have a quick look through the field. Let's see how they stand with 26 minutes, 20 seconds to go. Nangle still leads, got a comfortable margin. Cam Costa sits a lonely second. Johnny a lonely third. And Sam Smith, I wouldn't say it's a lonely fourth because Stairs is 4.4 behind him. There he is. And Osrob is 48.4 seconds off the back of Stairs. So his race has fallen apart quite quickly for the number. Well, actually, we're not sure what number that is because the range number on the car. Boak is in the pits and he leads GT, but as is Jamie Snow and Rob Dunt. So they've all come in. So the top three have come in. Foley's the next one on track. So Foley's fourth overall. They're coming around Stowe at the moment. And we'll just stay with Brenton Foley for the moment. And let's see how this all shakes
Costa's
out.
in the pits too. Cameron Costa in.
So Costa in for his final stop.
And he's taking tyres too.
So taking precautions. Foley comes around. Let's have a look where the others are. Snow's coming out of the pits now. So Foley makes a gain. There he is. Moves up to second. And Foley has stopped already. So that'll settle the GT battle.
It's not worked so well for Foley though. He's lost a little bit of time to Jamie Snow, unfortunately. That gap was just under 5 seconds. Now it's just over. So it hasn't worked out as Foley would have liked.
No. So Jamie Snow leads GT. Foley second, Matt Williams third, but we believe Matt Williams may need to stop again at this rate. Phil Boak has come out fourth overall. Dunt now leaving the lane, fifth overall. He'll get out just ahead of Tara.
Costa's changed tyres and has got out a long way ahead of Stairs.
Yep.
20 seconds or so.
Harvey now in 13th on the road from Steve Bolger. Matt Schwass, Brennan Ross, Scott Murrell off the road. Where's that at? That looks like that's at the top of the hangar straight. Brian Walsh and Glenn Miles last overall. So you did mention that Costa had been in. Johnny'd slipped through. He'll have to stop again. Nangle looks like he'll be coming in this lap. Coming off of Stowe.
No, he doesn't.
No, keeps going. So the Professor, with 24 minutes left, leads the field, leads comfortably, and he's got quite a margin as well. He had 10 seconds on Costa before Costa came in, or over 10 seconds before Costa came in. So it'll be a short fill. Tyre change when he does come in.
Said, we have seen Nangle make mistakes with his strategy and accidentally take a full load of fuel or full service when he hasn't wanted to. So, yeah, if he does do that, then he'll be right next to Costa, and he's having some trouble getting through some traffic.
Yeah, he's having trouble negotiating with Bolger and Miles as well. Caught them at the wrong time, but just played it sensibly.
It looks like we've lost Scott Murrell and Greg
and Tara. Yep,
unfortunately.
they've both DNF'd just in the last few moments. We did see Murrell was off the road at the top of at Chapel and the Hanger Straight, so they're falling down the order at the moment. Now, a safety car now for Nangle would be disastrous. Would be absolutely disastrous. So he needs to get down and get this pit stop over and done with. Otherwise, he'll lose this race. So we haven't seen the safety car yet. Everyone's been very well behaved. Everything's settled down. No real accidents to speak of. But as long as Nangle can get into the lane, then the race is pretty much his. A little bit of traffic ahead, but that's not going to bother him because he won't need to pass it. And it's Brock Harvey's Lotus. And here he comes, race leader. Number 1 on the hood, number 1 on the fin. Gets it stopped well and truly before the line, so no problems with the pit lane speed limiter. Round the bend, and he's got the fortunate position of having one of the early bays, and no tyres either. Wow.
Well, this certainly changed it. That's a risk there from Nangle, because he could have come in and changed tyres and got the small amount of fuel he needs and been fine. So this will be interesting to see if he can keep that pace up and if Cameron can do even better than him, because Cameron on fresh rubber, I mean, obviously there's about 10 seconds to change those tyres, so that's time saved there for Nangle. But yeah, it's going to be, well, if we say 25 seconds when Nangle gets out the end of the lane, you know, we've got 20 minutes and change to go, maybe 12, 13 laps. It's going to be very interesting.
He's out of the lane now, and he's out ahead of Johnny as well. So more importantly, I think that's probably what he was probably fearing, is that he didn't know the strategy of maybe what Costa had done and what Johnny had done. But in the end, he's going to have the same sort of issue that Stairs did, probably toward the back end of this, with a worn tyre set. But there's a nickname that this man has. It's the Professor, and if anybody can get it to the end on worn rubber, it's going to be the Professor. He knows how to drive this car, and he knows how to drive a lot of cars with damage or worn rubber. He knows how to drive them smoothly and efficiently, and that's all he's got to do, because he's got 30 seconds on Costa now, and Johnny has to stop again. And
only 20 seconds on Costa.
And only 20 seconds as the gap continues to come down. So all he's got to do is just drive it smoothly and efficiently for the next 20 minutes and 20 seconds plus 1 lap, and he'll be home and hose. Meanwhile, he's got Glenn Miles, who's going to round up on the outside of Maggots and set sail down the Hanger Straight. So Johnny's still to stop. Sam Smith, I believe, has still got to stop again for the final time. So your effective leader is Nangle, your effective second place is Costa, and your effective third place is Stairs, with under 20 minutes now remaining. In GT, the battle is Snow, Foley and Williams, but we believe Williams may have to stop again, so that will then hand Boak a net third place, if that proves to be true.
Yeah, it's going to be as Johnny comes into the pits now, so that'll have Costa go through momentarily into second, and Sam Smith, assuming he doesn't pit here, which I think he's going to, yeah, it will mean Stairs goes into third.
Yes, Sam Smith getting the traffic of Brendan Ross as well, coming around Stowe, and no, Sam's going another lap. So Sam going another lap. It's always a risk too, Bagsy, as well, isn't it? Because everything, if you want to come in on a certain strategy, we've been talking about this before, if the safety car was called, it would be a disaster for anybody that is yet to take their final stop, because they're then going to have to wait for the pits to open, and they're going to get freight trained by everybody that's already stopped.
Yeah, it is. Although when you're a bit further down, it's not so much of an issue, and especially with the LMP2 field, it's mainly a risk for the people at the front. Less so once you get to 4th and 5th, it's not going to cost you as much because the field's going to pinch up under the safety car anyway.
No, that's right. But still, it'll be all about the track position, especially at a late stage like we're at now with 18 minutes and change to go. The last thing you want is a safety car to come out, because the safety car laps will be somewhere in the realm of about 3.5 minutes per lap. And you'll spend 3 or 4 laps behind the safety car. The LMP2 cars have the luxury of pitting first, or the lead lap cars have the luxury of pitting first, should they want to take tyres and fuel. And then the next lap, it is the balance that come in to take their stops. And then after that, they all get going again. So by the time it eats up probably 12 minutes off the clock of, or more than 12 minutes off the clock of safety car running, it'll be a sprint finish to the end, so track position becomes key.
Nangles just said his first flying lap, 149 flat on those used tyres.
We're watching
Not much
Jamie.
traffic on that lap either. He's almost. Nangles had a very close encounter with the back of Bolger's car.
We're watching Costa just lap Jamie Snow as well. So let's see what his flying lap is on this lap. It's a 48.8, so only a second difference, and not really enough. The Professor should hold on here.
Not even that, only 2/10 that one.
Not very much at all.
49 flat versus 38.8. So Costa needs to
Sam
do
Smith
a lot more than he's doing.
Sam Smith in the lane, so he surrenders position on the podium to Stairs. So if it's set the way that it is, and Sam Smith finishes, so Johnny's coming round. Oh, just had a Brendan Ross caught way too much curb in the final corner. Shot across in front of Johnny's Alpine there. So Johnny, I believe, has still got to stop. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, Bagsy.
No, he's had his stop.
So he's had his stop. So that drops Sam Smith to behind Johnny as well. Sam Smith comes out of the lane. So I might want to do some sums here, Bagsy, and just check to see what the point score is going to be, because Sam Smith he's got a comfortable 5th place at the moment. He's got no threat behind from Ozrob, but Johnny a bit further up the road than probably Sam can catch in the next 16 minutes. But a 5th place will still keep him at the front of the championship, but he will lose margin to Nangle and Costa behind.
Current standings have Sam Smith still leading by 8 points, with Costa and Nangle tied on points with 26 each, but Nangle being ahead based on having a win, which would be this race.
That's if this falls the way that it currently is. So he came into this with an 11-point lead in the standings, Sam Smith. At this stage, he'll walk away with an 8-point advantage and a very tight 3-race stint in the Asia-Pacific region to come. I'm actually quite looking forward to Fuji, Bagsy, which is, I believe, is our next stop. I'm pretty sure it's Fuji Shanghai, and we know Albert Park's the final round. But Fuji is a circuit that's not used anymore, but is a unique circuit. I mean, there's a very, very long front straightaway, so a lot of passing will be done down the main straight, but there's also quite technical section on the bottom side of the circuit as well.
Yeah, it's a very flowing circuit too, so... And that first corner can, even though it's on the end of a long straight, it's not a sharp corner, so it could be difficult to pass into as well.
There's plenty. It is a wide front straightaway though as well, so there will be an opportunity. If you get the passing move done before the corner, like the LMP2 cars will be doing, it shouldn't be too bad. But if you're trying to get somebody under brakes into turn 1, you'll have to be rather careful as well.
Yeah, well, we've just seen, been watching Cameron Costa having a couple of issues, been running a little bit wide, running over curbs a bit, so he's actually losing time to Nangle, despite Nangle having old tyres. So if he's not careful, he's going to fall into the clutches of Stairs, who's 15 seconds behind, which is about one half-serious mistake away.
Yeah, he just needs to settle it down here, Cam Costa, and just focus on bringing it home. He'd been outfoxed in the second stint after the pit stops took place. And he just needs to come home and solidify his championship position. As we said, he'll be a net second, but he'll be, if it was to go back on a count back, it would be Nangle by virtue of the one and only win that he would get from today's race. And he's continuing to lose time to Nangle here. Costa was a 49.6 that lap for Cam Costa. Lost a further 2 to 3/10 as they cross the line. Oh, and having some issues passing Glenn Miles as well. Miles has gone deep and then spins off the road there as well. So just a yellow flag, and Miles gathers it up and gets going. So we stay green. Just caught him
the
in
gap
a
between
spot there.
Jamie Snow and Brendan Foley refuses to be anything but a 5-second gap at the moment, because it's been that way for a good 2/3 of this race, and they just haven't got close to each other, sadly.
No, it's ping-ponged a little bit, but now it has settled down. You can see Foley was just in back a shot there as well as Snow comes through Aintree, turn 5, and down the Wellington straight again. Let's see what the gap is as they come to the Sector 1 split this time around. So it was 5.6 when they crossed the line. It's now 6.7, so Snow gets the gap up a bit more. He's getting the blue flag here for Johnny behind, so Johnny should round him up quite comfortably before they get to Cops. And he does on the in. Ooh, I was going to say Johnny should have taken the line there and taken that quite easily, but no, waits until after Cops and then puts the foot down. So either way, he's gotten past at the end of the day. And a little yellow flag flashed up briefly there as Glenn Miles is having a bit of a torrid time. Oh, and very nearly came back onto the circuit next to Jamie Snow. So, having a bit of a torrid time back there.
They're still in the race though, so you'll still get points, which is what you need to do.
Yep, still circulating. There's a bollard off to the side of the hanger straight there as well. Well, let's go back to the front and have a look at what's happening, because Nangle still, he's actually got the gap out to nearly 27 seconds now, so a masterclass at the moment for the Professor. Still got, is relapped Ozrob. And Stairs is still chipping away at Cam Costa here, so hopefully there's no mistakes from the number 50. Otherwise, as you said, Bagsy, Stairs will be right there.
Yeah, Nangle still dropping him, so it is a brilliant drive from Nangle. Certainly a drive that was needed to be able to win the race, because Costa was with him for a good 2/3 of this race, and he's managed to pull it out quite well now. I mean, he's 30 seconds ahead of Costa, 43 seconds ahead of Stairs, a minute ahead of Johnny. He might even, as Ozrob comes in for his final pit stop in the background of the Nangle shot, he could potentially lap Sam Smith if Sam Smith has any issues, but probably won't with only 10 to go. But still, a brilliant drive from Nangle.
Yeah, fantastic drive from Greg Nangle so far. Still time on the clock. It's Costa round Stowe corner. And comes down to complete his 43rd lap. So we'll go close to getting the estimated 50 in. It's all settled down a bit now, hasn't it, Bags? We're just trying to focus in on some battles and see if we can find anything going on.
Unfortunately, there's absolutely no close battles on track at the moment, because the closest gap is about 7 seconds, I think.
Yeah, certainly looking like that. Well, what we might do is see if we can grab an onboard lap with your race leader, see where he's on the circuit. He's actually coming up to Rob Dunt and put him a lap down. So we'll wait till he crosses the line this time around, and then we will go on board with the number 1. Clears a bit of back market traffic. Ross a bit wide in the background there. All right, so Nangle comes down to the final complex of corners, and we've got Roof Cam looking out over the bonnet as he rounds the last corner. Heading down towards turn 1, Abbey corner. You just want to take a small amount of curb if you dare. Just like that, just a little clip. Ride the exit curb for turn 2. And now hard on the brakes for turn 3. Village corner. Run it out wide a little bit. Cut it back for turn 4. They call the loop as it loops back on itself. Turn 5 is Aintree. A little bit of curb there. Run it out wide on the ripple strip and now down the Wellington straight towards turn 6. Which is Brooklyn's corner. You can see there, Brooklyn's in the Brooklyn stand to the right. Corner that can suck you in a little bit. Take a bit of curb. Stay off the curb here for turn 7, which is Luffield, and then power down. Woodcote corners, turn 8. The right-hander here. Out onto the old front straight. The old pits off to the right-hand side there. Cops corner coming up, turn 9. Flat out in the Formula 1 car. Lifting down a gear for Nangle. Use the ripple strip on the outside. Back up through the gears. And now through this fantastic sequence of Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel, turns 10, 11, 12, 13 and 14, catching the traffic of Boak and Lumpy Miles there as well. And now out onto the hanger straight. Foot hard to the floor. And then hard on the brakes. Look for an initial input for Stowe, turn 15. And now down to the Vale chicane. Left over right. Nice and slow. Nice and easy. Out to the left. Back to the right for Club Corner. And that's a lap with your race leader. And he'll come to the line and does that in a 48.9. So a great, smooth lap by Nangle. Negotiated the traffic rather well. Well, that knocked 1 3/4 minutes off the clock as we tick down.
Cameron Costa's last lap was a 1:49.0. Stairs' last lap was 1:47.7. So 1.2 seconds Stairs took out of Costa that lap. Although Stairs is coming up to a bunch of traffic, so that's not going to help his campaign. But he is closing in on Costa, so putting that little bit more pressure on Costa, getting him thinking a bit.
Yep. So here he is, the man in question, Cam Costa. Wouldn't say he's under pressure just yet, but probably just running his own race now and just looking to bring it home. And you saw a flash of green and black in the background as the number 5 TSR car continues to eat into the deficit. But probably going to run out of time and run out of laps, one would suggest. And the gaps have all really settled down now. We've sort of lost interest in the battles going on. I mean, meanwhile, just looking a bit further, actually looking a bit further back, looking at 11th place, rounding up 15th place on the grid. So that was Matt Williams rounding up Brennan Ross in GT. So there really isn't any battles out there on the track at the moment that are capturing our interest, apart from if Stairs can eat into the Cam Costa advantage. But that traffic looks like it might be taking its toll now because Costa's got the gap back out to 13.1. So I dare say that everyone's just looking to bring it home from here.
Stairs lost 2 seconds.
Yeah, he lost a lot of time
in the first sector alone.
Under 5 minutes to go, plus 1 lap. So working lap 47 is your race leader. He's got Brian Walsh for company here. Well, Bagsy, while we've got an opportunity, I guess, to just see the cars go around this wonderful circuit, probably a good opportunity to reflect, I guess, on the first half of the season. So we've had 2 different race winners over the first 4 races in LMP2, and we're about to finally get a 3rd race victor for the series. But take nothing away from Sam Smith, I guess. His debut into the series, he had a fantastic battle with Nangle for most of the Sebring race. Did have to fuel save toward the end. Piled on an impressive 3 wins from 3 starts. and will still lead this series, but Nangle's still there or thereabouts and not going to go away anytime soon.
Yeah, it's Sam's going to have to do better than his performance today to be able to win this championship if Nangle's performance keeps up, or even Cameron Costa's, because they're both closing in, a decent amount this race. So he's losing that buffer he had. He had a buffer of a win basically, so he could have DNF'd today and still been in the championship lead, but it wouldn't have been ideal. And this is, while it's not a DNF, it's still not an ideal circumstance. So he's going to need to push for these last 3 races in this Asian leg and make sure he doesn't make any mistakes and has better performance.
Yeah, he's certainly there or thereabouts, and he can't afford to bleed too many points to Nangle, because all it takes is one little mistake and a fistful of points will be gone. I mean, we've already seen here that he's going to finish in 5th at the moment, Sam Smith, and he'll only drop 3 points of his advantage to Nangle. So if he does that too many times, he's going to find himself only 1 point probably in front, or not very much room to play with. He really needs a result finishing in front of Nangle at least once in the next 3 races to make sure he stays at the top of the tree. Talking about GT, I guess, as well, can anybody stop those PBF cars? Because at the moment, looks like Snow's going to get a win in GT, which will be good for that group, as Brendan Ross receives another drive-through penalty. Foley and Boak have got the Corvette singing quite beautifully at the moment. They've got the team's title at the moment in their grasp by actually closing in on 50 points over Loose Simsport, only even more hampered by the fact today that they're only against Loose Simsport, are only going to get one classified finisher in Steve Bolger. But those PBF Corvettes are probably going to run away with this championship and probably end up having a little battle between themselves as to who's the better driver is going to be at the top step of the rostrum at the end of it all. And at this stage, it probably looks like it's more than likely to be Foley.
Yeah, Foley seems to have the edge over his teammate. It's a decent chunk of a decent chunk of points rather at the front. It's 13, and that's going to extend again at the end of this race.
Well, speaking of Foley, here he is. He's actually got the gap down to 4.5 seconds over Snow, so I wouldn't say the battle's over and done with yet, but there's only a minute 23 on the clock, so probably not going to get this win off of Snow unless something drastic happens to Snow ahead. Actually, Foley takes a bit too much exit curb, well, actually probably more so exploiting the track limits a little bit on the exit of the final turn. As we tick down with a minute to go, so where's our race leader? Let's see if we can find our race leader. Where is he?
We'll have one more lap after this one.
So he's on the Wellington Straight, so by the time he gets around, we will have one more. So we are going to get the half a ton of laps. We are going to get to 50. As Greg Nangle will take the white flag. Probably, I would imagine, about 30 seconds, or maybe about 25 to 30 seconds after the clock expires. So he's at Copse Corner now, with 30 seconds left on the clock. It takes longer than 30 seconds to get from here to the start-finish line. So another penalty for Brendan Ross. So just taking the piss with the penalties at the moment.
Yeah, there's a couple of corner cuts too many there for Brendan Ross.
Yep, a couple of corner cuts too many indeed. Nangle out onto the hanger straight for the penultimate time. Brock Harvey's little Lotus that could has moved up to 12th on the road. So that's in class. That is 6th overall in class. He's behind Scruff at the moment, or Matt Williams. So the Ford GT on debut for Matt Williams hasn't gone according to plan. It's 5th on the road at the moment, tucked up behind Dunt. Well, timer has expired, so this is the final lap about to be commenced by your race leader, Greg Nangle. So he's controlled this race beautifully since he got past Cam Costa in the second stint and has really never been headed. And in actual fact, just for good measure, didn't take tyres at the last stop either, and has grown that gap from 22 seconds to 34 seconds in this final 25-minute stint. So an incredibly good performance and a very well measured drive by the man they call the Professor Bagsy.
Yeah, you couldn't ask more from a race-winning drive, really. Did everything perfectly if needed to. Didn't push too much. and too hard. Was patient, took the strategy perfectly. Basically a faultless drive, apart from maybe one spin or slight spin trying to get through traffic. So,
Well, apart from that spin, he hasn't put a foot wrong at all. So he came very, very close to winning in Sebring. Had a great battle with Sam Smith, and if not for that pit stop, probably would have been right there or thereabouts and really challenged Smith for the win. He unfortunately dropped out after a couple of laps at Monza, so it was an unexpected DNF, and we didn't see him last round, but here he is now. Down to Stowe for the final time. And only a couple of corners to go. Well, school is in, and the professor has taught the field a lesson today. He's going to win by over half a minute in class for LMP2. Greg Nangle round the final turn. Checkered flag is on display. The number one is on the top step of the podium for the first time this season in WEC. Great drive by the professor. Cam Costa's back on the main straight here and just rounding up some GT traffic, but he'll come home for a solid second place. Had a great battle, led the first part of the race, but just couldn't go with Nangle when it counted. And we'll round up Jamie Snow just before the last sequence of corners. Your Jamie Snow will be your leader in your winner in GT as well. Foley's closed the gap down a little bit more as well here. But Cam Costa to the line now, so he takes second overall. Snow wins for GT, and where's Foley? Foley got the gap down to 3.6 by the flag. Stairs takes third for Tin Shed Racing, so another Tin Shed podium, so 4 podiums in a row for Tin Shed Racing. This one unfortunately not a race victory, but nonetheless still a good result and a good return, and it keeps them at the head of the points standings in the team standings. Johnny Kirkham will come down to finish 4th in LMP2 class, ahead of Sam Smith, in actual fact 30 seconds ahead of Sam Smith if you don't mind. Sam Smith just coming out onto the hangar straight now, so he'll retain his points lead, Sam Smith, but he's lost 3 points of it overall. So meanwhile, Foley's done his engine there after the checkered flag, and Boat comes home doing donuts and finishes 3rd. Dunt 4th in GT, Matt Williams 5th, and Brock Harvey 6th. Bolger 7th, Schwass 8th, Ross 9th, and Walsh 10th, with Glenn Miles yet to cross the line. He'll round out 11th in class in GT, and the rest of the field were non-finishers. Just waiting on Sam Smith to the line. There he is. So finishes 5th, and Oz Rob's already crossed the line. But Bagsy, that is the end of our 90 minutes enduro of Silverstone, and the professor with a number one adorning the car is on the top step of the rostrum for the first time this season.
Yeah, he's done well. He's going to be happy that he's finally got a race win this season. 5 races in. Obviously, he didn't compete in the first one, but still 5 races in. He's going to be very happy to get that position, to get that win, and also get that boost of points in the championship up into second in the championship, tied with Costa.
Certainly is. So the championship tightens up a little bit, and a little bit of interesting, I guess, chatter will be going on in the next couple of weeks with 3 rounds to go, and especially with a circuit or two that these drivers won't be particularly familiar with. So we will see how this all shakes out. Meanwhile, while we're waiting for, I guess, the rest of the podium finishes to come about, Jamie Snow has decided to join us. Are you with us at the moment, Jamie?
I am.
Well, how'd your first fairing in the Cadillac go? Because Bagsy commented it's in a camo livery, and I'm not sure if it was designed to look that way to disguise it deliberately, but you've certainly taken that to the top step of the podium on debut, so great job.
Yeah, cheers. I was half expecting to get cleaned up somewhere and have someone exclaim, "Oh, they couldn't see you." But no, it was really good. Really, really happy with the way I drove tonight. Super clean race. I think that's honestly the best race I've ever driven. I think it would have been a little bit of a different story if Lewis hadn't have had his issues. And I think if we had have had a safety car, it would have been a much, much closer fight between Foley and myself as well. But Yeah, not too much to talk about. Pretty just happy with a nice, easy, cruisy race.
Yeah, it was certainly a very cruisy race, and you mentioned that we didn't have the safety car as well. First race in quite a while we haven't had the safety car, and it didn't tend to spice things up, so it did spread the field out quite a lot. We were actually looking for a few things to talk about, but nonetheless, it's a race win in your pocket, and a good haul of points for your championship. And Brenton Foley was the man who got the gap down to 3.6 seconds at the end of it all, but you just couldn't quite bridge the gap at the end of it all, Brenton.
No, it was an excellent race. Jamie drove very well, and the gap didn't move too much pretty much the whole time. I was pretty much pushing on the limit the whole time, and I just kept making mistakes at turn 3, which cost me half a second here and there. But overall, really happy with the race.
Just elaborate a little bit more on those mistakes you made at turn 3. Just going a little bit too deep or a little bit offline, or what sort of mistakes?
Yeah, if I was half a car width or even just almost a tyre width offline in the marbles, I would run wide or lock the rears, which would cause me to almost half rotate the car, which would end up losing time because I'd have to wait a little bit before jumping back on the gas.
All right. Well, it'd be interesting to see what your teammates' comments on that are, seeing as you do drive the same car. Phil Boak. Phil, did you end up with similar dilemmas as well and when you're finishing in third place, or you had the car pretty well under control to your liking?
Nah, I pretty much struggled the whole race. I had a couple of come-togethers at the start, and just the car was no good from that point on. So, don't know. On full tanks, I struggled, and then as the fuel dropped off and the tyre wear dropped off, I struggled with that. So, yeah, I just couldn't stick with the guys in front.
Well, take nothing away from your third place, mate. Second and third in class. Still a good haul of points. Does well for your championship as well. And the two of you, I guess, looks like at this stage are the ones fighting it out for the GT championship at the moment. Lewis Wedding, unfortunately, DNFing. There's no team orders, I take it, between you two. It's gloves off.
It's
Pretty much, yeah.
It's a fair fight.
It's a fair fight. Well,
Yeah,
we'll be
it's a
interested to
fair
see that over the course of the next couple of weeks. Bagsy, how about our LMP2 runners?
Yeah, we've got all of them in here, I believe. Greg, we'll go to you first. Pretty much the perfect race, apart from maybe one little hiccup in the middle. How did it feel?
It felt really good, although I probably should apologise to just about every GT3 car in the field. That was a really difficult race for, timing your passing and stuff with those cars. I don't know if the other guys found that, but I tried not to do anything wrong, but I tell you what, it was very difficult out there.
Yeah, we saw a few times where it seemed a bit close with you just getting them at just the wrong spot, and especially in the early stage of the race with you and Cameron getting through. There was a point early in the race where the two of you changed positions a couple of times just because you came across, it was about 8 laps in, a huge pack of cars. How'd you feel coming up behind Cameron with that all ahead of you?
Oh, yeah, well, obviously I was thinking you beauty, and Cameron was probably thinking the opposite. And at that point in the race, we both were just pretty much going the same pace, and it kind of felt like it was just going to be whoever had the best run through those cars was going to come out on top tonight, and that's probably what happened, I think.
Yeah, well, an excellent win, Greg, and congratulations. Cameron, have we got you there? Is Cameron there?
Yeah.
There he is.
G'day, matey, how are you?
Not bad, Cameron. It was a good race from you. You had Nangle's measure for the first 2/3 of it, but he just seemed to be able to pull away from you after that last pit stop. How are you feeling throughout that?
Oh, obviously, I'm a bit disappointed I couldn't bag pole in the win. But, credit to Greg. He just had the pace, middle stint there. So, yeah, credit to him and got all his timings right. And I got a bit screwed by groups, D's and that sort of thing. So, can't really do much with that. But yeah, the race was pretty good overall. I would say that a few cars, and I'm going to have to name names, unfortunately, but out of Brooklands, I got squeezed both times by Scruff and Foley. So, yeah, I'm not too impressed by that. But yeah, I think overall, all the drivers pretty well and that sort of thing. There was no major issues. So, but yeah, just a few times that I don't know what they were thinking, but out of a corner like that, you're always going to get out-accelerated by a prototype. So, no, squeeze the other driver off the road, pretty much. So,
yeah, fair enough. There was lots of people having issues with the traffic, so it seems like yours were also pretty significant. We'll go on to Stairs, the final LMP2 podium place. Stairs, a bit of a lonely race for you for the most part. You're battling a bit at the start, but seemed to peter out a bit for you during the middle of the race.
Oh, depends on your perspective, I suppose. I was quite happy with the result, given that we didn't really have the pace of the top guys. So, bit of work to be done at the old tin shed racing garage in between races. But yeah, no, we qualified quite well with starting second, so I was pretty happy with that. But just given that we're not supposed to warm tyres on the warm-up lap, as per tonight's briefing, my tyres were stone cold on the first corner, and I think it caught Cameron out as well. He went deep, and I followed him, and Greg got up underneath, and then they were gone by that stage, and a couple of mistakes after that, but the strategy allowed me to recover third place, so pretty happy with that.
Yeah, speaking of strategy, we saw you not change tyres at the first stop, and did you also take a small amount of fuel for that middle stint, just so you could have a full tank and fresh tyres for the last one?
Yeah, I suppose it was a gamble on a safety car in the middle stint, because I took on my fuel that I needed, filled the tank up basically at the first stop, and then that meant I didn't have to spend as much time refueling in the second stop, and I'd get new tyres as well. So it meant that I struggled a bit for pace in the middle stint, but it was only a short stint. So yeah, and the traffic ebbed and flowed. I think some of the other guys mentioned it, but that's just our lot. We have to put up with that as LMP2 drivers. So yeah.
Well, there's your top three in LMP2 and in GT. Congratulations to all the podium winners. Well, we look forward to what happens in the next upcoming week for AMS Oz, and what a week we have. We've got Rookie Cup Round 4 coming up starting tomorrow from Velocita in Brazil. The San Marino Grand Prix, so a change of date and a change of time for the Formula One calendar for a couple of weeks. So we've got Imola coming up on Thursday the 20th of September. Usually it's on a Sunday. It's on a Thursday this week, because moving to Sunday, it's the first of our supercar enduros, the Sandown 250. Obviously, the Sandown 500 was run today, and it's going to be the Sandown 250 in AMS Ausland on Sunday, the 23rd of September. Our next broadcast for the WEC is going to be from Fuji in a couple of weeks' time, a circuit that not very many people will have seen before, and it's going to present its own unique challenges. So, until then, this has been a presentation brought to you by the ARW commentary team on behalf of AMS Oz and Short Shift Podcast. We will see you very, very soon. But until then, as always, please drive safely. Bye for now.